Hey, I think that's live. My hair's still doing this weird thing where it only has like a couple unruly pieces on this one side, but at the same time, I don't care. So, we are live now. My mic was clipping last time. I hope it isn't this time because that sucked. But it is what it is. All right. So when last I was on here, I was taking a look at some of this stuff. Now, I didn't realize for Bard, I skipped something. So we're going to do a bit of a add-on as I remember to hit start recording. So when last I looked at this stuff, I didn't realize that Bard got a new 20th level. So I'm going to quickly take a peek at that and then start on some other stuff. When you roll initiative and you have no uses of bardic inspiration left, you gain 1 use. No wonder everybody multi-classed. So that's the old one. What do we got for this new one? I just thought they moved it back to level 20. But it is nice to hear that they put something new in. Now we're going to zoom in to make this nice and as legible as possible. However, we do have to break it out of the box a bit. I'm not going to make people on YouTube watch this when, oh, I can go like that. And then pretty much all in frame. All right. So Bards now get a new 20th level. Power word heal and power word kill. I'm not familiar with power word heal. When you cast either spell, you can target a second creature with the spell. So power word kill is pretty sweet. Power word heal, and then there's power word stun, and like there's a few other power word. They're leading the way. Wave of healing energy. Target regains all of its hit points. Removes charm, frightened, stunned conditions. Creature was prone. It can use its reaction to stand up. That's pretty sweet. Oh, and that's interesting. So if somebody is unconscious but not dead, you can bring them back up at full hit points and... Okay. Now, at this level for Bard, how many level 9 spell? I think you only have like 1. Yeah. Yeah, so it's you can once per day. It is cool. It is cool that you can do that on more than one creature. I kind of like that. Yeah, like I can get behind. I can get behind that. I think that could be a lot of fun. But yeah, so I don't think that adds anything necessarily to my rambling last time, so I'm probably going to put this somewhere before my conclusion. Cool. Stop recording. Start recording. Okay, so we looked at Bard last time. We looked at subclasses for said Bard, and it was a bit underwhelming. Same thing with Cleric, in that when I say underwhelming, it didn't knock my socks off of, oh my god, they completely changed this the way that I was hoping for, because of how they really messed about with Wizard and Warlock, especially Sorcerer to a lesser extent, but it's still pretty messed with. Cleric, they just fixed a bit. Bard, they just made a little bit better, I guess, and just kind of got rid of some of the stuff that sucked and made it a little bit easier, and clarified some rules. Well, not even clarified some rules, more made rules less ambiguous, or well, that means clarified. They made them work the way that I usually run them at the table anyway. Let me phrase it that way. So I'm okay with it, but I can see some people being like, "Oh, this completely changes how Bard works," and you know. So cleric, like I said, I'm happy with it. The mild changes that happened. Bard, happy with it. The mild changes that happened, but they're not knocking my socks off. We're gonna see what Druid has in store for us. Because I'm intrigued. I'm anticipating a lot more difference compared to what I'm used to, because I haven't read the Unearthed Arcana Druid stuff. That I know some Unearthed Arcana was released for like, this is playtest 6, and I've only started on 5 because I kind of ignored this stuff until recently. So there may have been some major changes in the meantime, but let's see what's all going on here. So they do primal order and then subclass. This was a change. I don't know offhand. Oh, I'm cutting off. There we go. We may have to go to 175, and I think that's best of both worlds. Now we can see Caleb there. Hey. All right. All right. So subclass for Druid used to be level 2. That was just how it worked. Is you had your subclass at level 2, which was sweet, fine, dandy. So what they've done instead is they've kind of split the subclasses into kind of parts, where you have your primal order at level 1, and then the subclass kicks in level 3. So now all the subclasses start at level 3, which from a multi-classing perspective, I think makes sense. And it actually puts it closer in line to the old Warlock, because that was the case of old Warlock. You would pick your patron at level 1, and then you would have a pact boon, like Pact of the Chain, Pact of the Blade, or yeah, that kind of stuff. So it kind of puts everything in that kind of perspective of like, yeah, you get a bit more stuff at level 1, but the subclass is always level 3. So it's sort of in line, because I think technically the subclass on Warlock is what you get level 1, but then like the subclass inside the subclass is Warlock's kind of its own thing, which now might not be. They may have to go back to the drawing board on that if they want to make this stuff. However, they kind of can't, because like unless they go the route of cleric, where you declare your subclass at 3rd level, even though you've been worshiping the same god, but then you're this type of cleric once you hit there, and then it retroactively gives you some stuff from 1st level. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we're not talking about Warlock. We're talking about Druid. So we got 3rd level first subclass. I don't know what Wild Resurgence is. Subclass feature, Elemental Fury. I'm not recognizing a bunch of this stuff. This could be really cool. So, notes. So, design update. Since its last playtest version, I'm going to have to look through the whole thing, because I can't make the same mistake I did with Bard, where I just assumed everything was the same. That wasn't on this list. But, channel nature has been cut in favor of restoring wild shape at 2nd level. So, wild shape wasn't? Or okay, I'll have to see about that. Druidic. Now, also make sure you always have Speak with Animals prepared. That's great, actually. Speak with Animals is one of those annoying spells where early on in the game, when it actually could probably be more relevant, it's really hard to justify having it prepared, because you have so few prepared spells compared to later on in the game. At least from my experience, I've been playing a Circle of Spores Druid. I'm only a few levels in, but yeah, like I almost never have Speak with Animals up unless I think I'm going to need it. So having that always prepared, I like that. Especially because Druidic also almost it comes up so seldomly. Like thieves can't is I think a little more common because there's a lot more thieves in the world, depending on the world. So I guess this situationally druidic on its own was kind of cool, depending on the player and depending on the world. But having speak with animals prepared, I like that. Primal Order, new first level feature, which lets you improve your armor and weapon proficiencies or your spell casting. This sounds like their variation of the cleric choices at level 1. So that's, again, perfectly fine. Wild Shape has returned to second level. The feature has returned to using beast stat blocks. The new rules for how you interact with those stat blocks. In addition, use Wild Shape. It's now a bonus action for all druids. That's a big, great change. And swim speeds are now available from the beginning. Also a good change, in my opinion. I can understand holding back fly speeds. The swim speed thing, like it's one of those like situational things of like, yeah, in a couple levels I could do something in this situation. Like it almost never came up in combat, so it was very seldom like a big deal to have it or not. But just not having it ended up being more of an annoyance than anything. So I'm all for every change I'm seeing there. Spellcasting is a noteworthy change. Spell preparation is no longer tied to the level of your spell slots. I'm assuming in the playtest originally, because normally it's just you can prepare however many spells and you as long as you have spell slots that allow you to do it. Where now it sounds more like it's kind of back to that. They must have done something in between of if you have 2 level spell slots, you can only have 2 level 2 spells prepared. Like maybe that was what they were going for. I don't know. This change to the wording, I don't get it. Somebody's welcome to pop in the comments and clarify that for me, but I don't know what happened in between, or if I've just been always preparing wrong as my druid. Who knows? Wild Resurgence has moved from 15th to 5th. So I don't know what this was, but this is new to me, and has been redesigned. I would hope so if it was a 15th level thing. New feature answers the desire to have more flexibility between wild shape and spells. So without even reading it, this is likely fulfilling my prophecy of using spell slots to wild shape more. That was always a really annoying limitation of I can transform X amount of times. That's it. And ever since I've seen the D&D movie where they transform a whole bunch and it was super fun to watch, I've kind of been like, oh man, I hope they implement something like that. Because just being able to just bang, 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 bang in like this situation versus, okay, I'm out of that, but I do have spells, so I guess I'll have to just cast a bunch of things, and everything I have to prepare today is really aggressive, and I'm just trying to escape. Uh-oh, I'm about to become a mass murderer. So I have a suspicion I'm highlighting the wrong one. I have a suspicion I could be wrong, because I was honestly expecting wild shape, similar to what was going on with wizards. I was expecting it to straight up become a spell. They probably didn't in the end, even though they moved a bunch of stuff to spells. Not because it wouldn't have worked, but because now it is, unless they change the wording of counterspell, you can't counterspell or potentially even dispel magic. I'd have to reread dispel magic, but I think it was mainly they didn't want people to be able to counterspell wild shape. But we'll get to that. Spellcasting, that Elemental Fury is a new 7th level feature. So again, this is pulling from the Cleric Handbook, which I'm kind of here for. So they're changing a few things. Like I honestly think they're making multi-classing a lot more front and center, and they're streamlining things to make multi-classing a lot less combination of less powerful to an extent with some of the changes they're making, where it kind of requires a bit more of an investment to do. So it's not this instantaneous huge jump in power. That makes it a no-brainer, especially if you know you're never hitting 20th level. It's like, well, why wouldn't I multi-class? Because it's just it's unruly how much this is going to do. But at the same time, adding more and more stuff to the base class to make it that like you don't have to dip into cleric to add. Like, I'm willing to guess without reading it. Increase the effectiveness of their cantrips or their attacks with weapons in wild shape. This sounds like, hey, you can add your wisdom modifier to your cantrips. Hey, you can add this modifier to these. That's just my guess without seeing it. And I'm for it because then, yeah, we're going to see less and less dips into Warlock. Not just because they nerfed Eldritch Blast, but because they've buffed a lot of other cantrips and stuff. So it kind of evens everything out. Cheers. So, and then Archdruid now includes the ability to turn unexpended uses of wild shape into a spell slot. Does that need to be a level 20 thing? It's also returned to 20th level. So, I mean, they added something to it. I mean, I'm not particularly opposed to this change. I think that's a good change, especially because I believe you get wild shapes back. I'll read it as we go. I believe you get them back on a short rest. So, that's why I think they held back on this for a while. But I would put this feature much earlier, to give you more versatility through the day. Like being able to turn one use of wild shape or whatever into a spell, like two uses of wild shape into one spell slot. They have to be careful because then they don't want to create a but I might need it later situation of like I'm never going to use wild shape because it's just always better to save the spell slots. So maybe that's why that ended up here, to make sure like, yeah, no, you're always going to have enough spell slots, so let's make sure you can like, and plus depending on what the ratio is, we'll get there. All right, creating a druid. Everything looks pretty standard. I haven't seen any major changes on any of this stuff. There might be, and I'm just missing it. But light armor and shields, cool. You start with the shield, sickle, etc. Cool. And then, yeah, the multi-classing stuff front and center. Oof. Keep it up. Make sure that stays. As a druid. All right. Level 1. Druidic. Again, has like the whole hidden messages and stuff that just... yeah, it just doesn't come up nearly enough. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it that maybe it's just me, and or my DMs, but yeah, always having speak with animals I think adds a lot. Primal Order, Magician, one extra cantrip from the primal list. Oh, this is interesting. I was expecting more of a this adds wisdom to it, which might be at level like 7 or whatever. But adding your wisdom modifier, but isn't instead of your intelligence, which is actually neat. This is good in two ways. One is if you've dump statted intelligence, it doesn't just automatically mean that there's no downside to it in terms of your nature checks. Yeah, no, I like this. Trained, you gain weapon proficiency with medium armor. Um, martial weapons and medium armor. So this lets you be more of like a dipping into ranger. Um, where is its armor stats? Light armor. I would be curious if anywhere in, and I'm not seeing it. They're not mentioning metal armor anywhere. Wonder if druids are allowed to wear metal armor now. Because if not, I don't know how much I would care about being proficient in medium armor. I could be wrong. But I digress. So spell slots and cantrips and stuff, everything looks pretty normal. Um, preparing. So they changed this from what they said. You prepare a list of spells, first level and higher, that are available for you to cast with this feature. Yeah. Yeah, they must have changed this at some point. Yeah. If something makes something always prepared, it doesn't count against it. Cool. Yeah. Changing your spells after a long rest requires 1 minute per spell level. Now, I asked this question earlier in one of these other ones and put it out as a hypothetical, but I think I may have not had to put it out as a hypothetical of like, oh, I wonder if they'll ever change this. It says whenever you finish a long rest, you can change it and requires meditation. Doesn't say immediately after a long rest, so it just sounds to me like you can only change it once per long rest, and then you meditate on it. So maybe that's actually the route they're going. When I send my feedback, I'm going to ask for clarification on that, because it sounds to me, druid preparing spells. You prepare spells. For example, you can also change. These spells must be level which you have spell slots. When you finish a long rest, preparing a new list requires at least 1 minute per. It's the same wording as before. I just never paid attention to it. Yeah, I may. Yeah, I'm actually curious now. Anyway, well, companion. I believe they added this a while ago, but lets you cast Find Familiar. Can expend a spell slot or use of Wild Shape to cast the Find Familiar spell without using material components. now that you can use the spell slot, that's actually really nice. I don't know why they bother with the material components then. I don't know why Find Familiar has it at this point. Of like almost everybody can do it for free except for wizards. It's like, come on now. But yeah, I do like that change compared to the Tasha's version, where I think you had to use your wild shape to do it. I mean, you can expand to a spell slot, so it can be of any level. The other thing I need to check, as a magic action, you can use a spell slot to cast the spell. Does that mean you cast it and it takes the full? I think one thing I need to actually get clarification on, just even from a sage advice perspective, not a hey, we should edit what is going on. If it allows you to use an action to cast the spell, but the spell takes longer than an action to cast, does it just happen instantaneously because you used the action to cause the spell to happen, or do you have to take the, I think Find Familiar takes 10 minutes or something like that, or an hour. Yeah, that's something I actually might need to look into just from a rules lawyery perspective for my current games, because I actually don't know the answer to that. When you cast a spell this way, you get to decide if it is this, that, or the other. Oh, it is. Never mind. It just is a fae, which is fine. Yeah, because it's a druid. Wild shape. What did they? Now they've apparently changed this a bunch since the original, which I am fine with. Especially this. Ooh, wild shape is a bonus action. Thank you. You have learned for this. Oh, interesting. Okay, so instead of just creature you have seen, you actually have known forms. You start with the following 3 forms for this feature. I'm liking everything I'm hearing here because this clarifies so many things of like, would I have ever seen a T-Rex? It's like, well, guys, all right. You start knowing 3 forms chosen from among beast stat blocks. Have a maximum challenge rating of 1/4 and lack fly speed. So as they mentioned earlier, swim speed, it's fine. It's out of the requirements or disqualifications, I guess, was the better way of phrasing that. So I'm all for this. You may start with so there's like a chart, or you can, here's the ones we recommend kind of thing. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace one of your known forms with another eligible form. Okay. So there's like a chart, and then you have, like, it's almost like you prepare a few of them. So then as you learn more, you can swap things out. That's kind of cool. Fly speed hits at level 8. I think that's how it used to work anyway. Known forms goes up. I'm all for that. Okay, so you learn additional forms and maximum challenge rating increases. In addition, you can learn fly speed stuff. Number of usage. You can use wild shape twice, and you gain it. You regain 1 expended use when you finish your short rest. I think it used to be you just get them back before, so I'm okay with this. And then you get them all back on a long rest. Retain your memories. Stats are replaced by the stats, but you retain. Oh wow, they have completely overhauled this. Don't know how I feel about it, but let's see. So you retain your intelligence, wisdom, charisma, but you also retain your hit points and hit dice. Class features species, traits, languages, and feats. Species traits. Does that mean you can breath weapon if you're a dragonborn? I mean, that'd be fun, but I don't know. I guess it depends on what's considered a species trait. Also retain your skills and saving throw proficiency and your proficiency bonuses for them. In addition, you gain those of the creature. If the creature has the same proficiency as you, the bonus in this stat is higher than yours. Use the creature's bonus instead. Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was saying you stack them, but they clarify that instantly. That's good. This is why I think Matt Colville, now that I've made a video kind of crapping on him a little bit, one of the best pieces of advice he ever gave was like, if you have a player who tells you what a spell does, make them read the whole spell, because the next line might clarify things. If it has legend, you can't use them. Okay. Can't cast spells. Doesn't break concentration or prevent you from taking actions that are part of the spell. So you can call lightning and then turn into a tadpole or something. So that's cool. Objects. Your ability to handle objects is determined by your form's limbs. And this becomes a DM discretion thing. Cool. And yeah, your DM gets to decide. So if you're like a bear and you're like, but do I keep my armor on? It's like, well, you're a 60-pound wood elf and you're turning into a 200 or well, probably 400-pound bear. No, you do not keep your armor on unless you want to ruin it. So yeah, that's a drastic overhaul, though, that it is hit points. It does make stuff like the spore druids, like you can use your wild shape to do other things, start to become more useful, because it gives you temporary hit points where the forms kind of would before, but it would give you like a second pool. I'm curious now, does this mean you can't get knocked out of this form? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you just transform and then you are in that form until you decide not to be, or if you are incapacitated. But it doesn't even mention incapacitated. So is it just until the... Oh, there it is. Incapacitated condition. Number of hours equal to your druid level. Wild shape again. Or have incapacitated or die. You can also leave the form as a bonus action. But yeah, the bonus action thing I think is a big deal. Wild shape, unless you're Circle of the Moon, it doesn't come up as often in combat, so I'm for just making it easier to use and a little less clunky in some ways. Like, it's just a thing that happens, and there you go. But I don't necessarily like that it uses your hit points. At the same time, it makes turning into a CR 1/4 a bit more feasible to hold on to that shape, because if you've only got like 10 hit points in that form and you've got, say, normally like 20, then like turning that form just gives you a buffer and then you're within one hit back to you sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. But let's us continue. Ability score improvement. Subclass, so they're doing Circle, Land, Moon, Sea, Interesting. Stars. I don't remember if Circle of the Sea was... Playtest, use Circle of Stars from Tasha's Culture of Everything. Interesting. Okay. I wonder... Okay, does that mean we're going to see all of these in this book, or are they saying, yeah, Tasha's, we're not changing Circle of Stars from there? Keep it. Everything else is in the book revamped. I guess I'll find out when I get there. Ability score improvement. Change the name from feat. Still not sure I like that. Still not sure I like the other one better or not, though. Wild Resurgence. If you have no uses of Wild Shape left, you can give yourself one use by expending a spell slot. You can only do so once per turn. Okay. I guess that's for in-combat purposes. In addition, spend one of your wild shapes. No action required to give yourself a first level spell slot. Wait. Archdruid said it now includes the ability to turn unused wild shapes into a spell. Okay, that better be like a way better ratio. But yeah, I like that. That's great. Everything about that's good. I like it. Subclass feature Elemental Fury. Add your Wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with the cantrip. Yep, expected that. Once on each turn, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon or beast form attack, you can cause them to take a d8 of a bunch of different damage types. That's also cool. I like that. I think, again, they added something like this to Cleric. Like, this is almost word for word what they did to Cleric, which is good. It's these, like, melee-oriented divine casters, or I guess this is a primal caster, but of a similar setup, I guess. Yeah, having this... I need to see what they're doing to paladins, because paladins add a d8 every hit, as opposed to once per turn. So do they add it every hit still, and that's what makes them better? I guess we'll see. But I really like this, especially because this is weapon or beast form. Yeah. And I think this would work with monks because I believe their unarmed strikes are considered monk weapons. I'd have to check on that. But there's really easy ways around that, and a DM could just say, oh yeah, 100%. But it just wouldn't work with a regular unarmed strike from a non-monkey person. Ability score improvement. Commune with nature. Always have commune prepared. Again, straight out of Cleric. Okay. Subclass. Ability score. Subclass. Improved Elemental Fury. When you cast a primal cantrip, range of 10 feet or greater, so basically non-touch, the spell's range increases by 300 feet. So it doesn't just double a spell's range. It's just like, yeah, this spell has 120 foot range. Well, now it is 300 or 420 foot. Or you can add an extra d8. Cool. To do ability score improvement. You gain the ability score improvement. Yeah. Beast spells. When you use wild shape, you can cast spells in beast form. Okay, that was all right. For some reason, I thought that might have been a subclass specific thing, but I'm wrong. All right, ability score and then Archdruid. All right. Whenever you roll initiative and have no uses of wild shape, you regain one expended use of it. Cool. All right, fine with that. Nature magic. You can convert uses of wild shape into a spell slot. No action required. Choose a number of unexpended uses of wild shape to convert them into a single spell slot, with each use contributing 2 spell slot levels. Okay, now that differentiates that. Okay, and you have to do a long rest before you do it again. Still not actually all that crazy, other than you get 1 use back on a short rest. So depending on how long you're resting during the day, right? If you're like, hey, we're gonna do basically 3 short rests in a row and just kill a couple hours, and I'm going to get 3 uses back of wild shape, and I'm going to use all 3 beforehand to give myself another level 6 spell slot. I could see that being useful, but again, it's like it's just a new way to regain stuff. Which at 20th level is that? I think that's really weak for level 20. If that was the only thing on here, I would say there's a problem. But the fact that it is no action required is also nice, though. Druid subclasses. All right. So they do have Circle of the Land in here. You can now pick a different land type each day. That's, yeah, because Circle of the Land could be cool, and then it wouldn't be. So, yeah, being able to pick new land each day, that is really nice. Similar to, I think they did that for the updated Ranger. I don't know if in this, but like the Tasha's. I had a player who was trying to play an OG Ranger, and I told them, no, you should play one of the new ones. Like, oh, but I kind of want to see what the OG was like. And it was just, I can't tell you what kind of creatures you're going to fight. That is supposed to be a surprise. Oh, and then, yeah, they picked the newer one so they could do it. Spell lists are shorter since they can change it each day. That is 100% acceptable. Lands Aid, new 3rd level feature. Use wild shape to heal and harm in an area. Interesting. Natural recovery replaces lands dry and enhances circle spells. Nature's ward. Oh, that's actually interesting. Enhancing circle spells. We'll have to see what that does, because the fact that you can change those spells out daily is going to be interesting. Nature's ward. Cool. Nature's Sanctuary has been redesigned to give Druid another way to wild shape and to provide protection. Yeah, more wild shape stuff, the better. So, circle spells. Right. So we've got... Okay. We've got a bunch of different spells available. I'd have to see... Yeah, so these are automatically prepared, which is fine. I don't really want to go through every subclass of the subclass to see all the big changes there, but I'm going to trust that these are either incredibly the same or maybe they completely overhauled it. Land's Aid. You can channel the power of land itself to bolster friends and harm foes. Magic action. You can expend a use of your wild shape and choose a point 60 feet from you. Giving each. Okay, so it summons a bunch of flowers. Each creature of your choice in the area must make a Constitution saving throw. 2d6. Oh, so it's similar to Wither and Bloom. Okay, I guess. Natural recovery, tapping nature. You can conserve recovery or mystical power. Cast one spell at first level or higher that you have prepared from one of your circle features without expending a spell slot. Okay. So it's first level or higher. So in theory, you can cast a 9th level spell without using a slot. That gives you 2 9th level spells a day. That's crazy. I mean, 9th level spells are late, but when you finish a short rest, you can choose expended spell slots to recover. The spell slots have a combined level that is okay, so this is similar to Arcane Recovery. Yeah, none of them can be 6th level or higher, but you can a combined level that is equal or less to half of your druid level. So if you're level 6, you can get like a level 1 and a level 2. Which is, oh, that's what they say down here. Yeah, that sounds just like Arcane Recovery. I'm fine with it. More ways to cast more spells per day, but requiring a bit of a wait to do so, not a problem. You bomb at the land that protects you. You are immune to poison condition. Okay. And have resistance to poison damage. Okay. Oh, and then you have a damage resistance based on the land type. I'm all here for that. Yeah, that's cool. Nature's Sanctuary. Nature can rise up to protect you and your allies. As a magic action, you can expend a use of your wild shape and cause a spectral tree with vines to appear. Okay. You last for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition. So if you get knocked out, you have half cover while in the area. And your allies gain the current damage resistant of. Okay, cool. And as a bonus action, you can move the cube up to 60 feet. So it's very situational, but oh man, if I know we're gonna be fighting some fire giants. Oh, last time we fought that guy, they used Cone of Cold. Right? I can give an area basically like a paladin style aura, but I can move it. And doesn't require concentration, which is nice because then you can do other spells and stuff too. I dig it. Cool. Yeah. That alone, just having it that you can change which land, that instantly made that subclass better. But having all this other stuff adjusted to coincide with that, I think is actually really good. All right, Circle of the Moon. This is going to be interesting. Circle of the Moon was like the class to beat as a druid, right? I think Spore kind of got close, and then Stars, I think, might have. But essentially, in the Player's Handbook OG 2014, Circle of the Moon was like, yeah, this is the best option if you want to be a druid. It was very combat proficient compared to everything else. Largely because, again, the land just wasn't up to snuff at the time. I can't even remember what the third one was at the time. Might have been Shepherd, and Shepherd could be good. Shepherd was somewhat DM dependent, and they might have removed some of the DM dependency as they've moved to more stat blocks rather than like you have to get your own monster manual. So Circle of the Moon, always been awesome, and they love to change stuff. So they had a previous playtest version. Circle Forms has returned from the 2014 version of the subclass, and as in that version, the feature is improved at 6th level. Now a feature called Improved Circle Forms. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like there was one in one of the previous UAs that I may not have seen, which is cool. Oh, combat. Wild shape. Okay. So before, now this was I was saying earlier, when you wild shape now, you keep your hit points and I believe your AC, where now they're saying you can use the higher AC. Also ensures you can always have Moonbeam prepared, and you can cast the spell while in wild shape form. You can also cast abjuration spells in wild shape. Most healing spells are now abjuration, but abjuration also is, I believe, a lot of like the protection spells and stuff like that. So yeah, that's cool. Being able to like right away cast spells while in this shape is good. Moonlight Step. No idea. Lunar Form. No idea. Okay, so Circle Forms. Yeah, so you can do challenge rating 1 at 3rd level, which is pretty hefty. If especially like it kind of depends on the size of the party, but and also depends actually on how they overhaul. How powerful this is going to depend on how they overhaul CRs, because they've said they are planning on revamping some of the monster manual type stuff to try and make things better for DMs, which I'm all for, and that includes a overhaul of how the CR system works. So if a bunch of stuff shifts around in terms of power level to kind of match things better, then I might be overestimating how good this is, but it's kind of always been the case. That's one of the reasons why these things have always been big, because like generally if you're in like a party of let's say 4, a CR4 is kind of what you're expected to come up against, which would be 4 CR1 creatures. So you can turn basically into the equivalent of one of them. And before you would have their hit points. So you would have the equivalent hit point pool of a CR1 creature on top of your own. But now that's not the case, so I guess we'll see how it kind of goes. Combat Wild Shape. Oh, right here. You gain temporary hit points equal to the form's hit points, or 3 times your druid level, whichever number is lower. Interesting. Yeah, they already mentioned the AC, which that's actually handy. Because sometimes you'll turn into a beast that has high hit points but low AC, and now you can get best of both worlds. This fixes what was going on in my brain. Now, interestingly, this doesn't mention that you lose the form when the temporary hit points run out. So this is a best of both worlds situation. It sounds like, yeah, you get temporary hit points equal to your new form, or equal to X times your druid level. So if you pick a form that has a lot, well, it's whichever is lower. So, yeah. However, as I mentioned, turning a wolf that only has 11 hit points, getting hit once makes you normally drop that form. Yeah, the lower thing is interesting. Um, yeah, that changes the math a little bit, but I like this feature. It keeps it in line with the old way of doing things without going too crazy. But it does mean if you turn into like a spider with 3 hit points, getting uh kicked accidentally by somebody might that sounds like it wouldn't turn you in back into your human form anymore. Um which that's always been a funny thing, right? You take 1 point of damage and now you're you again. And by funny, I don't mean like, oh, that's kind of weird. I mean like it would be funny in game. So I'm hoping this doesn't break that too badly. But I do like that. Yeah, no, I get hit and I'm maintaining my form because I want to be. Being able to cast Abjure spells, and then you have Moonbeam prepared. Um, that form without material components. Sweet. Improved circle form, pretty standard. CR3. Oh no, this is different. It's not just the chart anymore. Challenge rating equals your druid level divided by 3 rounded down. So level 6 is a CR2. Level 9 is a CR3. I'm okay with that. Each of your attacks in wild shape form deal its normal damage type or radiant. Because that's magic damage, that's a easy way to bypass magical or like resistance to non-magical weapons. So that's cool. Misty Step of sorts, like Moonlight Step here. But better. All right, and you have advantage on the next attack roll you make before the end of this turn. Use this feature number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. You gain all expended. This is just really cool. I like it. It can also be used while in your beast form. Yeah, it gives you advantage. It's your bonus action to get you 30 feet of movement, but it's also a teleport, and then gives you advantage. Like this is just awesome. Oh, and you can regain uses by spending a second level or higher spell slot. Again, I like this regain uses thing. Same thing with wild shape and stuff. Movable moonbeam. While you're moving, that's actually really good. Makes moonbeam that kind of falls off. Really nice. You can teleport one willing creature. That's also really cool. All right, I like everything I see on this. They found a good way to keep it more powerful in terms of in wild shape than everybody else. Brings back a bit of stuff to do with the wild shape from the previous. We swear it's the same edition. Don't trust us. But yeah, I'd say Circle of Moon's really cool. We got Circle of Sea. Druids of the Circle of Sea. I don't remember Circle of Sea, so I actually don't know anything about how this is gonna be different than the original. Well, let's do a quick check here. What are this might be no wonder I don't remember. This is new. At least comparatively, it probably was in the previous UA. All right. So Circle of C has spells always prepared. And again, they're doing this front loading where you get stuff that's, I believe, because I think Ray of Frost is like level 1. Um, the same thing they did with the subclasses for Cleric, where because you don't get to pick your subclass till 3rd level, they just give you some extra 1st level stuff that you would have gotten in like the original way of making a Cleric. Wrath of the Sea. As a bonus action, you can spend a use of your wild shape to manifest an aura around you that takes the form of ocean sprays that surround or lasts for 10 minutes. It ends early if you have the incapacitate condition. Dismiss it. No action required. That's actually always nice. Or manifest the aura again. At the end of each of your turns, you can choose another creature you can see within 10 feet of yourself. The target must succeed on a con save or take thunder damage. Creatures larger or smaller pushed up to 15 feet away from you. Determine this damage. Roll a number of d6s equal to your wisdom modifier. So this could be broken early on. Because you could have 4, like if you manage to get 18 wisdom, which is very doable on rolling. You start with 18 wisdom, which gives you a modifier of 4, and then you have 4d6s of thunder damage at level 3. Like, that's not outlandish, I guess, but that's pretty high. And with a bunch of knockback. Yeah, but that falls off real quick because it doesn't, like, the most you can get for your wisdom mod, unless you start getting some items or some of these epic boon things that they've kind of stalled out on, of like, yeah, you might be able to get up to like 30 intelligence or 30 wisdom. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. Always have water breathing spell prepared. Yeah, swim speed equal to your speed. If you use a wild shape and assume the form that lacks swim speed, that form gains your swim speed. All right. That could be comical, but makes sense. Stormborn. Wrath of the Sea. There's 2 more benefits while active. So you can fly. That's cool. All right. And resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. Okay. All right. All right. I was going to say, like, this starts to fall off very, like, it starts a bit much, potentially, of, like, okay, this could do way more damage than anybody else at, like, level 3. Well, not anybody else, but pretty consistently quite a bit, because, like, a cantrip at this level, because, like, this thing lasts, and it's at the end of your turn, choose a creature and it happens to it. Okay, the more I look at this thing, the more I think it could end up being a little bit broken. Because I can go about my turn, do my business, and then I'm doing potentially an additional 4d6s at level 3. And doing a hefty amount of knockback. Yeah. Now that damage vanishes, or de-escalates a bit as you level up. But then I also get fly and a bunch of resistances. I'm liking this more and more. It's very Sea Witch. I dig it. Yeah. Whenever you use Wrath of the Sea, you can manifest the aura around one willing creature within 60 feet of you rather than manifesting it around yourself. Gains all the benefits of the aura while using spell save DC. From it. Oh, so you can use it on someone else. In addition, you can manifest the aura around both the other creature and yourself if you expend 2. Okay. Yeah. All right. I officially like this subclass. I didn't think I would, which is good. I still prefer, like I said, I'm doing Circle of Spores right now, and I kind of like its flavor a bit more. But yeah, this just sounds. You could do some really fun stuff having like an RP, like, well, especially because there's a lot of there's a few like underwater races and stuff that I think could just inherently, like, yeah, no, everybody is just a druid of the sea who is part of this like Atlantean style thing. I am impressed. I was not expecting to like this subclass, but now I do. That's a good sign. Yeah, and then we're on a monk. Awesome. So, just to collect my thoughts on druid here. Um, I'm actually, like I said, I went into this thinking bard and cleric barely had any changes, and was just like, we're gonna tweak things and make them better, which was fine. They didn't need a lot of reworking, build it from the ground up. Like, they optimized a few things, they clarified a few things, all this stuff. This is a bit more of an overhaul compared to that. Um, everything is like, there's a lot of different stuff here. So, for example, the idea that now druids, they don't just have their own spell list, they pull from the primal list. I will harp on this again and again and again if I think that's a really good idea. Of, here's 3 spell lists, you pull from one of them depending on your class, and then other stuff lets you pull from multiple. Speak with animals always being prepared. The primal order thing is fine if they're letting you wear metal armor now. I guess you might go warden, but that, like I said, that dips a bit more into a that dip. Oh, and now I'm even thinking about it more because, like I said before, you'd have to like decide, oh, does this armor fit me? But you keep your AC now. So if you go warden, this makes perfect sense to go warden if you're going to be Circle of the Moon, because then you put on the heaviest, beefiest armor and shield you can, so that when you turn into your bear and start clawing at people, you've got, like 17, 18 AC plus the bear's temporary hit points on top. That's actually quite nice. It's almost like they built everything in this to synergize with itself. Who knew? But yeah, and then having like Wild Companion works, I think, a little bit different than it did before. I can't remember if you could use a spell slot before. I still need to get clarification of the timing thing, because I know with the Divine Intervention, that came up in my head as well. The changes to Wild Shape, it got nerfed a little bit, but now that it's a bonus action and losing all of your health as said Wild Shape form, or before, it would be like, no matter which subclass you are, you would get the wild shape form. Then if you got hit, you would revert back, and that's gone away. So you get temporary hit points as the one, and everybody else just pulls from their hit point pool. And getting hit doesn't just automatically, that was a waste of an expenditure of wild shape. That goes away. I'm okay with that. That can go away. Yeah, the known forms thing. I can take it or leave it. As a DM, I really like this because now my players aren't, well, have I seen this? Have I seen this? Have I seen this? It's like, no, you can add that to your thing. And like at the beginning of the game, you can determine here's this thing that here's the list that you have. Uh, and then you can add known forms to it. And then like there's no um yeah. Uh clarification there is nice. I don't remember if they did that previously or not. And then yeah, the subclasses, giving them a way to uh, add your modifier to your cantrips, I think is really important. Makes cantrips more useful and alleviates the necessity to dip into other classes and stuff. And then the subclasses, like I said, I like how I like what they've done with all three. They all have their own unique flavor. They all are very they're going to play very, very differently. Circle of the Moon still feels right. It has a bit more moonness to it rather than just, hey, it's the one that transforms. It's like, no, we also, like, they've made Moonbeam relevant. When was the last time somebody used Moonbeam past, like, level 5? So, yeah, or whatever level it is. Like, it's one of those, like, oh, I have Moonbeam now. And I cast it that one time, and they moved. It's a cool spell, so I'm glad that it's gonna have potentially like be like a class necessity. The Circle of the Land is way better than it ever was. They fixed all of my issues with it of why I just always ignored it, and as a DM, I never really got into it. Like, it almost felt like a DM class of I'm going to have this group of druids that they are druids of the desert, so I can have them from the arid land circle basically. And like it felt like that was more what it was there for rather than for players to pick. And then yeah, this C one that as far as I know is completely new. I really dig it. It seems really fun. It's got a lot of flavor. All right, but that's my thoughts on Druid. It looks fun. I think the overhaul that they did, like, I say overhaul, like it's similar enough. Like replaying a character as the new Druid versus the old one isn't gonna feel like a night and day difference. But I think I like the feel of this new one better. I think it's more streamlined. I think it's just going to flow better. That's my takeaway. Here's my very yeah. So I am going to take a quick break. I'm going to use the facilities and whatnot. I don't need to be recording this part of it. But yeah, I'm going to mute my mic and vanish for a couple minutes. I see a viewer. I don't know how many of you are here right now, but thanks for coming by. I'm going to be back in like probably 2 minutes. I'm just going to use the facilities and then read up how Monk is. Yeah, I haven't read any of what's going on here. This is my first time looking through all of this. I've heard tell. Some people say Monk is better? Question mark. And Monk is broken? Question mark. Monk sucks now? Question mark. Like everybody's putting out these videos that have like Monk? Question mark basically. So mine will, when I get around to it, will probably be, why does every video about Monk have a question mark in the title? But I will return. Oh, remembering to unmute myself because, oh, I lost my viewer. Whoever that was stuck around for quite some time. So, but hopefully they return. Alrighty. Whoa, starting my recording. Now we've got the monk. Primary attributes or abilities, Dex and Wisdom, as per usual. We've got now main updates from the class. Most were inspired by the Player's Handbook survey. Okay. Martial arts starts with a D6 rather than D4 for their die. Only applies to unarmed strikes, not weapons. Ooh. Okay. Okay. I like everything I'm reading here. So, if you're not familiar, they've added in the weapon masteries. So that has made melee weapons way better. So they actually gave unarmed strikes a boost across the board for monks, which I am cool with. Yeah, I'm all right with that. Plus, so wait, that only applies to. So, there's probably a new thing that adds the martial arts die to weapons, or maybe it's just to keep. No, it does. It's unnecessary because the weapons technically will do more damage, but, yeah, they will have the weapon mastery stuff to make up for that. So I don't think they need to add the monk die later on. All right, so. What do we got? Weapon mastery, first level feature. Okay. I was expecting it to maybe pop up late. Well, but yeah, no, they are weapon masters, blah, blah, blah. Martial discipline, improved version of Step of the Wind, which now lets you take both disengage and the dash action. That is... All right. Deflect missiles has been redesigned. Higher metabolism is a new 7th level feature, making it easier for the monk to regain discipline points and gain benefits of a short. Oh, other than okay. Oh, and gain other benefits of a short rest. I'll have to see what this means in the end. Stunning Strike can now be used only once per turn, and the stun lasts until the start of your next turn. Stunning Strike was too much, so pulling it back a little bit, making it not always the answer, right? It's very fireball, always fireball, but for monks. So I'm for it both from a DM perspective, because Stunning Strike kind of sucked from a DM perspective. It also, interestingly, although it doesn't come up very often, but in like one-on-one fights, monks were silly. You could just Stunning Strike, okay, and I'm going to do this on every attack I make until it works. Okay, now it's my turn again, and I'm going to do it on every attack, right? It lasts until the start of, because it does full on give you like you would have advantage on every attack on your next turn. So for one-on-one combat, that adjustment makes sense. It still keeps it pretty rad. It's still going to be pretty useful. Only being able to use it once per turn is actually really nice as well, because again, you try to use it once at the beginning of the turn, doesn't work. All right, well, I guess I got to do other stuff now, rather than okay, second attack, Okay, stunning strike. Oh, didn't work. Okay, fury blows. Okay, that one hits. Stunning strike. No, didn't work. Okay, second attack from fury blows. Stunning strike. Okay, finally I got it right. You end up spending like 6 key points in one round because you're just trying to make this thing work. And then it does, and then it ruins the boss fight because the boss can't do anything. Yeah. Or if you're fighting a boss that has what are they called? Legendary resistance and stuff. Empowered strikes. It's force damage now. Cool. Which is good. Force damage is like the hardest to resist damage in the game. Acrobatic movement is the new name for unarmored movement. Okay. Self-restoration replaces stillness of mind, purity of body, and timeless body, and it allows you to remove conditions as a bonus action, not an action. Dig it. Okay. Deflect energy. That's cool. And replaces tongue of sun and moon. One of the yeah. I haven't even read what this officially does, and I love, like, in my head it goes to very like Neo. I stop it with my mind and then I flick it back at you. Yeah. All right. Disciplined Survivor was formerly called Diamond Soul. Okay, so they just changed some names. That's fine. Superior Defense, formerly Empty Body, has been redesigned and does not rely on spells. Okay. Perfect Discipline, formerly Perfect Self, has moved from 20th to 15th, and Defy Death is a new 20th. Okay, so this one has a new 20th level. I will pay attention to it, unlike Bard that I had to do an amendment on. All right. Creating a monk. Nothing I see here tells me too much has changed. I start with 5 daggers, but no other weapons. Interesting. I wonder if they just figured, okay, instead of like, hey, you can start with short swords and junk, and then weapons, simple weapons, but now the weapon die doesn't. Oh, that's why you don't start with short swords and stuff, because they had like a whole list. So they're kind of pushing more towards, hey, like you can use weapons if you want because they will have the mastery thing, but it's fisticuffs. Punch them in the face. That's what I'm starting to see here. Because, yeah, like no proficiencies in anything other than simple weapons, and then you start with 5 daggers so that you have stuff to throw, which, as we've seen on previous stuff, throwing now is like part of the drawing action, so your hands are still going to be free to do all your other stuff if you decide to throw a dagger. Very ninja star stuff. Multi-classing right up front. This is the shortest one of any of these I've seen. Martial arts. Your practice of martial arts gives you mastery of combat. Use your unarmed strike and simple weapons. You gain the following benefits while you are unarmed or wielding only simple weapons and aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield. Bonus unarmed strike. Use attack action with an unarmed strike or a simple weapon. You can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. Now, unarmed strikes also include things like grapples and stuff, so that's fun. I like it. Martial arts die. You can roll a d6 of the place of the normal damage. Oh. Hi there. Oh, and I see you now as a viewer. How's it going? Um. Yeah. Silicon J there. You haven't read any of this stuff yet, eh? Uh, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So like they revamped a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So maybe you might know the answer to this. So unarmed strikes now doesn't just mean punching something. An unarmed strike includes things like grapples and push. So anything that would qualify as like you could do an unarmed strike. It's not just a unarmed attack. Um, so if you have like bonus unarmed strike as a monk, you can like grapple as part of your bonus action, which I don't think that's how it was before. Um, but I think that's really cool because like grapple and push so seldom used. Like it just wasn't used very often. Um, and on top of that, like I think as a like a wizard, it's like, oh, you get an attack of opportunity and you don't have a weapon on, you can use your attack of opportunity to do a grapple. Just rules as written. So like there's a few fun changes there. But yeah, martial arts die. You can roll a d6 in place of your normal damage of your unarmed strike. This die changes as the monk gains level. So this is an important distinction. This is a new thing because before it's like whenever you make an attack with a simple weapon or an unarmed strike, dexterous attacks use your dexterity. When you have simple weapons or well, as long as they don't have the two-hand property, all this stuff, but those don't count as your martial arts die anymore. So if you want the martial arts die, you have to use your fists, but your simple weapons do get your dexterity, and they also, which interestingly enough, I wonder if that means they're getting rid of finesse as a weapon feature. Because on top of that, so you get to add your dexterity to those, and then you get the weapon mastery stuff, which is really cool. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Yeah. Unarmored defense. Same as usual. Yeah, weapon mastery, as I was saying, on such as daggers. Allows you to use mastery property of two kinds of simple weapons. And you can change them on your long rest. I'm good with that. Like I said, makes it so that like, yeah, I'm gonna use a mace today, and then you get your effects of it, but then you keep your other hand open so you can do more damage and unarmed strike and all that stuff. Martial discipline. Oh, this is the new name of key stuff. Discipline points. Your monk level determines the number of points you have as shown on the column. Okay. You start knowing 3. So Fury of Blows, fan favorite. Patient Defense, cool. And then Step of the Wind got buffed like crazy. Step of the Wind is now, as we saw earlier, disengage and dash, which is pretty sweet. Although it kind of, I'd have to actually double check. It might make the Drunken Master not as interesting because that was its whole thing, is being able to move through enemies without provoking attacks of opportunity, but now you can disengage. But I also need to reread the rules on disengage because I think there's some other I don't know if you can disengage, attack, and then keep moving. I think you have to like disengage and then get out of there. So I'll have to reread that in the near future. To do saving throw DC based on a plus proficiency plus wisdom. Everything else is the same except for Step of the Wind. And now that Unarmed Strike is pushes and grapples. So that's kind of cool. That is kind of cool. Unarmored movement. And then has like extra cool stuff that happens later, but that's just renamed. Deflect missiles. I don't think they changed anything there. That all looks the same to me. Damage. You can spend 1 discipline point to redirect the attack towards them. I think that's how it worked before. Subclasses. So they're starting with Warrior of Mercy, Warrior of Shadow, Warrior of 4 Elements, Warrior of the Open Hand. Warrior of Mercy from, it's Way of Mercy from Tasha's, but they changed the name. Again, just like with Druid, this strikes me as saying, like, yeah, the power level of the stuff from Tasha's is what we're aiming for across the board. So there's a bunch of stuff from there that is just fine to use in the playtest because it just works. Rest of your gain each of your subclass features. Okay, ability score, slow fall, pretty much the same as always. Extra attack, I think it's even worded exactly the same to make sure people don't think it's stacking. Stunning strike. So this is the one that changed. You hit a creature with a simple weapon or unarmed strike. Also important for multi-classing, actually, this matters. It's not with a weapon attack. It is a simple weapon or unarmed strike. So if you multi-class, which could be really effective in some ways, a fighter with a monk to get the martial weapon proficiencies and all the bonuses that kind of come with that level in fighter, you can't use stunning strike with your longsword. Yeah, like I'm noticing more and more them really, really thinking about multi-classing, not just about like I am still a big fan of, we're going to put multi-classing front and center so it's a lot easier for people to understand and see because some people just didn't know it existed, but having it very much thought out, which it always was, but like it just seems like they've kind of caught what people were doing of like the theory crafting of, I'm going to make this build. It's like, well, yes, builds are really fun, but we don't want it to be like a necessity. You should be happy if you play a monk from level 1 to 20, or if you've got 5 levels of monk, 5 levels of rogue, 5 levels, right? You should have a great time either way, but they have to make sure that choosing to stay in one class doesn't screw you over, because like if everybody else multi-classes and you don't, and everybody's power jumps by 20% or some, I don't know the actual stat, but like their damage per round or their effectiveness per round and things like that just skyrocket and yours don't, it doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, they definitely changed this. So stunning strike used to be you hit him with pretty sure it was you hit him with a weapon attack. I could be wrong on the wording there. Originally I got caught up in this one, but you use a key, now discipline, and they would be stunned until the end of your next turn if they failed the con save. Now you can only use it once per turn, which is good. Some people won't like it. I do, but you can use it once per turn. And it only lasts until the beginning of your next turn, where it used to be the end of your next turn, and that's really important as well. Because again, for like it's more, I'm going to stun you so that next, like you can't do anything until it's my next turn to move. That can be really effective, but is far more effective and then on my next turn, you're still stunned. So I'm going to throw 4 attacks at you and then walk away 60 feet because I'm a monk or whatever. And you can't do anything about it because you're stunned, right? It's just, it was too powerful to do anything else. Why would you use your key points for anything other than Stunning Strike? So I'm glad it's not nerfed into the ground. It's still good. It's just not the only option. So I am okay with that. Empowered Strikes. Oh, okay. So before, I think Empowered Strikes previously, or whatever it was called, was more like your fists count as magic weapons now. And similar to the Druid, where they can have their wild shape do radiant damage, this is just the answer to that. That's what this is for. This thing is resistant to physical damage. Well, I can decide to do force damage, the hardest to resist attack or damage in the game. They didn't say they changed evasion. It just does this thing. Okay, cool. Heightened metabolism. This was the new one. If you spend at least 1 minute resting, you give yourself all the benefits of a short rest. You can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. Okay. Fine, Mr. Wizard. I will... Just give me 1 minute. Right? Because how many... All right. Silicon J, how many times has our party been like, fighters? Okay, we gotta rest, guys. I used everything. And then, like, our druid or bard being like, I don't know, I'm good. Because, like, they don't get anything from taking that short rest. So they're like, okay, we can if you want, but I guess, right? But like 1 minute. Oh man. So now we're gonna make ourselves a monk, an elf monk. So they never they their long rest is what, 3 or 4 hours, and their short rest is a minute. It's like like this is just great. I don't even necessarily think like it's overpowered or stupid or anything. I just think it's funny. Of like, okay guys, just give me 1 minute to catch my breath. Okay, I'm good. The only thing is, if you're in a party that likes to take a lot of short rests, this becomes a lot less meaningful, I guess. But in the right party structure, right? Like if you're like, say, monk, cleric, druid, or the druid doesn't really count now because they want to take a lot of short rests for their what's it called? Wild shape. So like monk, wizard, and warlock or something, right? So you're the up in the front, taking all the damage, bob and weaving, having all that fun. You use everything you got. Oh, guys, okay, I need to take a rest. We don't. All right, fine, just give me 1 minute. I don't know. There's just something comical about a 1 minute short rest. But I think okay, I've been poking fun at this, but here's why I actually like this far more than what previously monks had. I think monks used to have to take, like, I think it was written into the player's handbook that, like, monks only had to, or would get the effect of a short rest after, like, 10 minutes or something. Which sounded cool on paper, but never comes up. Because if you're going to take a short rest, you're just going to take a short rest. This 1 minute? Ooh, that actually, so I've been poking fun at this a little bit. But it's actually relevant compared to some of the stuff they had before. I am 100% for this. I do think it's funny. There's just something about a 1 minute short rest that I think is funny. And in the right party configuration, this is perfect. And I prefer this greatly to, because I think monks used to only need like 10 minutes or something like that for a short rest. But it like just didn't come up very often. And I think this is far more relevant than that. Now, if I'm wrong, if I'm thinking of a different game or something, okay. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's pretty sweet. Anyway, carrying on. Acrobatic movement, run across liquids. Cool. Self-restoration. Through sheer force of will, you can use a bonus action to remove one of the following conditions: charmed, frightened, or poisoned. In addition, foraging for food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. Did it before? This is a rule that I just have never heard of in my life. Like, I know I've only read probably 20% of the Dungeon Master Guide, but I did not know this was a thing. Foregoing. Okay, I just can't read. It's been a long day. I kid you not. I'm having a beverage, but this did not contribute to this. I couldn't get into the store on the way to get this because I tried to push a pull door. I was that brain dead after a long couple days. Foregoing food doesn't give you a level of exhaustion. Interesting. I don't know how much that would come up, but when it comes up, right? So, yeah. And that being an addition, right? If it was like, hey, 10th level, you don't have to eat food anymore. And it's like, you look at your DM, it's like, when was the last time we actually paid attention to how many rations we have in this game? Yeah, it being additional is a necessity. Yeah, I'm leaving in when I put this on YouTube for like my edits. I'm leaving that in. That was a great little brain fart. That gets to stay. Okay, so immunity to disease. Did they just get rid of it? Is that what they're saying here? Yeah, it's been removed from the playtest version of the class because the word disease doesn't have a solid meaning in the rules, and for years the rules have delivered disease-like effects through the poison condition. They will continue to use the condition in that fashion. Yeah, like my paladin was immune to disease. It never came up. It just ever. Like, I think it was supposed to be like you can go into like the temple of the lepers kind of thing and heal the sick or whatever. Like, it was supposed to be that kind of feel, but it just never came up practically. So, yeah, okay. Subclass, ability score, deflect energy. This, I just love the imagery in my head. You can use your deflect missile feature against range attacks that deal any type, not just bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. So somebody throws an Eldritch Blast at you. I tried to deflect it, right? And it only counts as like an attack roll against you, so you can't like I'm going to deflect that fireball. It's like, no, a firebolt, yes. But I just love the idea of like you focus, it stops it, and you fling it back if you focused hard enough. And like the idea of like, because how many times have you like, every time I think monk, I think Dragon Ball. Like, how many times have they like deflected something back at somebody, or if they don't even succeed at deflecting it, but they put their arms up at the right time and it hits and it knocks them back a few feet, but it doesn't do any damage because they blocked it just right. That's what I see here. Yeah. I use deflect missile on again this Eldritch Blast, and like as the DM, I can think of like 12 cool ways of describing that because I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. Uh, this is gonna be good. I like it. All right. Disciplined Survivor. Your physical and mental discipline grants you proficiency in all saving throws. This is true. You cannot deflect magic missile because there's no attack roll, right? Is it even? Actually, I haven't even read. Is magic missile considered an attack, like a ranged attack, or is it just they take this damage to avoid accidentally having that come up? Because it could. Either way, I could see it, but yeah, which again, oh, you deflected my firebolt? It's a good thing I've got 4th level spell slot ready for you next turn. Deflect this. And again, anime. Full-on Gundam wing, shoulders popping open with missiles. Or Samurai Pizza Cats, depending on my age. All right. Disciplined Survivor. I am very glad you're here. Disciplined Survivor. Your physical and mental discipline grants you proficiency in all saving throws. Now, is that how that worked before? Did monks get? I gotta look this up. I've been trying to go by my memory because I know monks fairly well, but like Diamond Soul 14, because that's what this replaces. Yeah. All right. That was before too. Okay. That seems real good, but it was already there. So, yeah. When you roll initiative, you regain 4 expended discipline points if you have none remaining. They've added more and more of this stuff because they have this for druids. They have this for like a few of the. I think Bard had it as well for Bardic Inspiration. Of like, hey, you don't have something. Well, for the combat, we should probably add like make sure you're not like tapped out completely. You have something to do. And I'm kind of for it because oh boy, does it ever suck to get into like your 4th combat of the day. You have like no hit points left. You're tapped out on everything, and you're like legit tapped out on everything. And all you can do, I guess I roll an attack again. Because this is I can't do anything else. I've used everything up. So I'm kind of for it. For especially that standpoint, or especially you get ambushed. Yeah. Like, we're trying to take a rest, although... Well, I only did one... I managed to get 1 minute of rest. I know everybody else only got 10, but, like, can I get all my stuff back? So, yeah, I do like this. Ability score improvement, subclass. Superior defense. As a bonus action, you can spend 3 discipline points. Against harm for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated. What does that mean? Resistance to all damage except force. Ooh. All right. Although, again, that might have been... yeah, that was there before. It's just renamed. Okay. Man, monks, they're just great. It's almost like... they had to nerf them a little bit. Who knew? And then ability score at 19. And 20th level, Defy Death. You can spend 4 discipline points, roll 4 martial arts dice, and add the dice together. Your number of hit points instead changes to the total roll. Each time you use this feature after the first discipline cost increases by 2, and then it resets after Okay. That's also funny. I don't know how often that would come up. Of like, because if I'm getting close to 0 hit points, um, and because heck, bards get power word kill always prepared, right? So if you're fighting something that's got power word kill and it's like, yeah, no, you or oh no, that one's just you die. This is dropped 0 hit points. Um this wouldn't be unless they reword power word kill, which might be they may have to reword power word kill to they die or they drop to 0 hit points and fail 3 death saves for this to stop power word kill. Similar to like I think it's death ward that like prevents power word kill from working. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So far what I'm seeing, just to give a mid class sub summary, I like it. They nerfed a few things that needed to be, mainly Stunning Strike, but they kept everything else that was really cool, added some other cool stuff, right? Like, Deflect Energy is just rad. That's neat. I dig it. They changed a few minor things, like, hey, now instead of just, hey, your attacks are magical, it's like, well, now your attacks are force damage, wherever that ended up being. Yeah. I keep highlighting the wrong things. Yeah. So yeah, I think overall, the minor tweaks they did here are perfectly fine. So let us take a look at Warrior of Shadows. Now, I had a Warrior of Shadows monk briefly in one of my campaigns, and they did not like it. So I'm going to be intrigued to see, now they're calling Warrior of, so they've changed the naming a bit. I think before it was like Path of Shadow or something like that. I can't remember. Although I guess I have this open. I can see these. Oh, it's just Shadow. Way of Shadow. And now it's Warrior of Shadow? Okay. I'm fine with that. Whatever. So they're naming them a little bit differently, and that's fine. Yeah, they're like the shadowy assassin guys. Here are the main updates. Whew. From 2014. Shadow Arts has been redesigned, giving the monk dark vision, a darkness that costs fewer discipline points than before, and it can be removed each turn during the duration of the spell, and they can see through their own darkness. Does that mean they can turn it on and off? I guess I'll see when I get there. Shadow Step has been improved. It can be used in bright light. Thematically makes less sense, but from a player perspective, I can see this being just so much easier going. Cloak of Shadow. We moved to 17th level and redesigned to empower the monk while in dim light or darkness. All right, well, let's find out what the heck all this stuff means. Gain the following benefits from Shadow Arts. So, 1 discipline to cast darkness. You can see through it. That's fine. While the spell persists, you can move its area. Yeah, you can. Okay, yeah, this actually makes it far more useful. Far more useful. So before it was like, yeah, you can cast darkness. It's pretty sure. I guess I can check. I have the technology. Yeah, you can just cast. Hey, here are these spells you can cast, which is cool. It's like, hey, here you can spend key points to cast a bunch of spells. But now it's like, hey, your main thing is darkness, we're going to just go all in on darkness. We're going to make it cheaper. And we're going to make it better, because the darkness spell, usually you cast it either stationarily or like on something. And then that thing can move. Where now you can move it. And at the start of each of your turns. So it doesn't use your bonus action or your action to move it. That is really good, because then, oh, this is causing problems there. I move it over there. I must have missed. I thought they could dismiss it. Somewhere in here. Can be moved each. Yeah, I must have misread this slightly. Yeah, being able to move that darkness around, that's actually really clever. Because you can have it follow you. Oh, they saw me. You move it onto them. And then, because you can move it anywhere within 60 feet of you at the start of each of your turns, they all of a sudden can't see you, and you bolt. And you have like 80 feet of movement or whatever, because you're a monk and you have Step of the Wind ready to go. Minor illusion, and you use wisdom as the spellcasting modifier. Now, interesting. So they got rid of a few of the other things. I have a strong suspicion pass without a trace might get a revamp. Really, honestly, pass without a trace should be you give everybody advantage on stealth checks or something instead of +10. Like, it's just so broken. But I have a suspicion these the minor illusion was almost useless before, because I think you would use like intelligence as your spell. Like, yeah, because like, I don't even think it says what you would use as the modifier before. So this is really good. Shadow Step. Well, and entirely within dim light or darkness, you can use a bonus action to teleport up to 60 feet. That is also in dim light or darkness, and you have an advantage on your next melee attack. Okay, so that's unchanged. It's cool. I love the idea of it, of like, I'm going to teleport from shadow to shadow so that I'm not like actually like entering the light at all. That's really fun. Very very Batman. But he wasn't actually teleporting. He was just tricking people and thinking he was. Ha ha ha. Jokes are always funnier when you explain them. Improve Shadow Step. You can spend 1 discipline point to remove the requirement that you must start and end in dim. As part of this bonus action, you can make an unarmed strike immediately after teleporting. That's really good, because yeah, it takes your bonus action to cast it, use the ability. So you use your bonus action, but then you get an unarmed strike, and on top of that, so you can go, okay, bonus action, I appear behind them, I unarmed strike them with advantage, even though they're in the light, because I'm appearing and just attacking instantaneously. I do so with a stunning strike on top of it to like really lay waste to this thing. And then you still have your action to attack twice after that. So that's cool. I like that. And then they say Cloak of Shadows was revamped. As a bonus action while entering dim or dim light or darkness, spend 3 discipline points to shroud yourself in magical darkness for 1 minute until you have the incapacitated, whichever, or end your turn in bright light. Okay. While shrouded in darkness, you gain the following benefits. So invisibility. So you can move through the light, and you're still invisible because you start and end in darkness. Okay. Partially incorporeal, you can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d8 or 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or object. Okay. Now, does that work for walls? Because I think a wall would be considered an object. So can you just like pass through a wall? I think you can. I think you can. You just can't end your turn in it. Shadow Flurry. You can use your Flurry of Blows without spending any discipline points. Hell yeah. I mean, that's cool. I like it. Yeah. So yeah, that subclass it's still not preaching to me, but it is way better than it was, which is fine. Because yeah, like I said, it had such a cool concept and like visual, like your mind's eye can make some really cool stuff out of a shadowy monk, but it just never really worked the kind of the way that I thought it would. Like I said, my player made one, didn't like it, went a different route, which is fine. And that could have just been the player too. Just it might not have been the subclass itself, but I think this variation of it would have been a little more interesting for her. But yeah, now Warrior of Elements. This is your Avatar: The Last Airbender one that everybody wanted to be cool, but just there was already so many other classes that were just better at what it was supposed to be doing that I don't know how many people took it unless they really wanted to go full Avatar. Which I hope that's the capstone on it. Anyway, so it is often the lowest rated subclass in the player's handbook. Do they mean the entire book? Is that what they're saying? Because that sounds like the entire book as opposed to just for monk. But neither would surprise me. So they've probably overhauled this like crazy. Disciple of the Elements has been replaced with with new features gained as the level of monk normally gains subclass features. Okay. I don't know exactly what that. I think I know what that means, but I don't know exactly, so I'm not gonna guess because I'm about to know. Elemental Attunement, the new feature that enhances monk's unarmed strike with elemental powers, replacing elemental disciple options like Fangs of the Fire Snake. Environmental Burst is a new feature that allows the monk to create a blast of destructive energy in an area and replaces elemental discipline options like Flames of the Phoenix. New feature enhances Step of the Wind, which is already buffed, so this will be sweet. A new feature that further enhances the elemental power. You've tuned yourself to elemental. What is it? Elementalism cantrip? What? So it is a transmutate. It's a new cantrip on arcane and primal. Okay. Back in air, breeze. Shroud of dust or sand, 5 square. Back in fire, create a thin cloud of harmless embers and create a spray of cool mist that lightly dampens I'll try to create 1 cup of clean water. Cause dirt. Okay, so it's not a combat one. It's more flavor. Okay, I was like, okay, maybe this is a cantrip that you cast like and somewhere like green flame blade or something like that. It is basically an elemental version of prestidigitation is what it sounds like. Is I want to do this cool thing and it have this as part. I don't know. Yeah, you have this. The rest of this better be sweet because like that's you have this cantrip that you're never going to use in combat on this very heavily martial oriented class. So it's cool that they have it, but yeah, like it seems like just a we wanted to combine prestidigitation and minor illusion, but make it only elemental stuff, but make it like it can do a little bit of both of those spells only elemental. It I get it, I guess. But it seems like it's like I want something that lets me add a little bit of flavor that does nothing other than I guess you never run out of water technically because you have a cantrip that can summon a glass of water. Um, that's the only like in-game benefit to it. Like have it give inherently um like or even well I guess at a DM's discretion it could give you advantage on like a persuasion or a intimidation roll or something, and I guess they don't really want to like spell that out because like you don't want to put that on prestidigitation or something like that either. Yeah, that's just a weird. That's a weird one. I don't know. I here have us use this cantrip. Hope got off to a good start there, Wizards of the Coast. Hey, this was the worst rated subclass in the game. First thing, here's a RP cantrip. All right. In addition, at the start of your turn, you can spend 1 discipline point to imbue yourself with elemental energy. The energy lasts for 10 minutes or until you're incapacitated and gain the following benefits. Elemental Strike. Whenever you hit an enemy with an unarmed strike, you can cause it to deal your choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage rather than its normal type. Cool. When you deal one of these types with your unarmed strike, you can also force the target to make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, you can move the target up to 10 feet toward or away from you as elemental energy swirls around you. So that's cool and all. But why does it say towards or away if it's an unarmed strike? Oh, you see, this is I was just mentioning earlier how always read the entire spell. When you make an unarmed strike, your reach is 10 feet greater than normal. So 15 foot reach? Because you usually have a 5-foot reach. Hence, being able to pull them 10 feet forward. Like, that's sweet. Okay, this makes way more sense now. The only thing I would change, this is the only thing I would change, and this is purely a flavor thing. It has to be if you use one of these damage types to do the reach. Because it just doesn't make sense of, I go to punch, and my fist somehow hits, like, I guess maybe you would have that as bludgeoning damage because it's the air that you're sending forward. I guess you could RP it that way. But But yeah, because like, how else do you have a 15-foot reach as a uh, on a attack? Uh, yeah, like it's got to be the like I kick and I hit the air so hard that that wave of air hits you because it's bludgeoning damage, right? As well as I guess at level 6, it becomes your unarmed strikes become force damage or can be force damage, so it also would make sense. So maybe that. Oh, that's why they don't dictate it, because they want to leave it open to no. You can also use the force damage later. It doesn't have to be necessarily elemental. That's my guess. Uh, um, yeah, this is neat as a just controlling the battlefield kind of thing. Um, I'd be curious to know if they're gonna have to reword Sentinel. They're gonna have to reword Sentinel. Yeah, they have to be. They have to. Because this isn't once per day. This isn't you using this last 10 minutes. So you have to have this thing on for Sentinel to work with it. But yeah, you gain 15 feet of reach. If they don't reword Sentinel, this is your only this is your best option. I'm going to reduce your speed to 0, and I'm going to move you. It says the target up to 10 feet towards or away. So if I'm attacking you from 15 feet away, I'm going to move you 10 feet closer. Or sorry, yeah, or no, 5 feet closer, so that you're away from my ally that you've been hitting, and I'm reducing your speed to 0. Or no, yeah, no, you could use this to like completely like they leave your threatened space to attack one of your allies. You hit them with your 15-foot reach, pull them back 5 feet so they are no longer in or like push them in like a way that they're no longer in even have the chance to get near your out. Like you can there's a bunch of ways that this can be heavily exploited with the right feats. I would have to say be very careful with giving players 15-foot reach and having Sentinel work. Sentinel needs to have a 5-foot range. That's what I would say. For the opportunity attack. I mean, maybe, but then Polearm Master starts to get less useful. I don't know, man. This could be really cool. I really like this. It actually makes this monk kind of awesome, but with Sentinel, that could be a bit over the top. And I might be overthinking it, because like Sentinel's like a bonus or a reaction. They have to leave your threatened space, which if you have 15 feet of reach, like it's pretty easy not to accidentally trigger a attack of opportunity in rules as written then, because like you just have to stay within 15 feet of this guy and he never gets an attack of opportunity against you. Yeah, with that in mind, maybe I'm just overthinking it. But either way, I like it. All right. Environmental Burst. As a magic action, I would be curious if counterspell is going to say you counter a magic action instead of a spell, because like they keep going to this magic action thing. You can spend 2 discipline points to cause environmental energy burst in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of you. Choose your damage type. It is interesting that acid is included in these. I don't know. I'm maybe the original did, and I didn't think of it. But I'm not used to thinking of acid as one of the 4 elements. But you know, okay. You must make a yeah, because I'm used to earth. Maybe this is replacing earth, so it's like earth, wind, fire. But then they like, I don't know. It's maybe in my head I just assume Avatar: The Last Airbender, so like none of this makes sense anymore. But anyway, on a failed save, a creature takes damage. The chosen type equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. On a successful save, they take half. Before or after you take this action, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. Okay. So you can spend 2 discipline. Yeah, earth, water, fire, air. Like fire and lightning were the same thing, sort of, in Avatar. Maybe lightning's a replacement for air? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this makes interest. AoE on a monk. Not used to seeing that. Mostly because they may have had AoEs before, but nobody ever took this fucking class. But yeah, the AoE damage is I do like that it is like they instantly add scaling because it is your unarmed strike like monk die or whatever they're calling it now times X amount. Costs 2 discipline to do. It's 3 rolls of it. So if you can hit more than one creature with it, oh, this is worth it every time. Because Fury of Blows costs 2, which normally would give you it costs 1. So if you use it twice for 2 discipline, right? You can't use that in the same turn, mind you, but if you use it twice in a in a combat, that's the equivalent of 4 rolls of your die. But this has 3, has guaranteed damage because they take half. You can hit more than one creature, and to make up for that 4th one that you're losing, you get an unarmed strike. That would be the equivalent of it. So, although it is an action, okay, I'm overthinking the math on it. But yeah, if you can hit enough enemies with this thing is pretty sweet. And the fact that it scales up with you because they are going with the martial arts die. That's not too bad at all. Stride the elements. When you use Step of the Wind, you gain fly speed and swim speed equal to your speed for 10 minutes. That's pretty sweet. All right. And then Elemental Epitome. I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced. I don't know if I've ever seen epitome written. When you use Elemental Attunement feature, that guy, you also gain the following benefits for its duration: damage resistance to one of those, and you can change it at the start of your turn. Cool. Now, do you have Do you have to? Now you have to declare it, obviously. This is where I would kind of like I was talking about this with another feature that like if the DM has perfect knowledge, it's kind of hard. Like, yeah, I don't know that you have fire resistance, but I know you have fire resistance, right? So this time I'm going to cast a lightning spell, and then you change your resistance to lightning, and it's like, okay, well this time it's going to be acid, because the NPC wouldn't know that, but the DM does. So what I would do if you're ever worried as a DM of like, okay, I don't want to inadvertently keep this in mind, because it's going to be at the back of my mind of, okay, I know they have fire resistance, so it's going to suck to cast the fire spell that they were intending to do. Maybe I should switch to lightning. No, I shouldn't switch to lightning. I should cast fire spell because that's what they were going to do. But now am I overthinking it? Would they actually be casting the lightning spell? And now I'm actually not using lightning because I know that they have fire resistance, and maybe that's what spurred the idea of using fire. Ignore all that. Grab yourself a D4, put a chart down. 1 means acid, 2 means cold, fire, lightning. And just have them hiding it somewhere that they can like move something to show you which resistance they have. As well, that makes it really easy for the player to keep track of which one they have up. Of like, oh shoot, which one do I have again? Yeah. And it's at the start of your turn, so like if something is, if you're in an area that's doing like continual acid damage or continual fire damage, you can like, oh shoot, and then switch to it. So that's kind of cool. You would hope it'd be pretty sweet at 17th level. Destructive. When you use your Step of the Wind, they really want Step of the Wind to be awesome. Your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of your turn. For the duration, any creature of your choice takes damage equal to run roll of your martial die when you enter a space within 5 feet of them. Oh, that's fun. That's you run past them, like, and if you've ever used the Speed Shrine in Diablo 3, where you run past them and like you do so much damage because of it. The only thing is Step of the Wind, I believe, doubles your speed or oh, you know what? Okay, Step of the Wind lets you use the dash action, which just lets you move again. So if you haven't moved yet and you use Step of the Wind, you gain actually 40 feet of movement during that turn. And then you can pick a damage type and you like run by and cause a bunch of fire damage. That's fun. I don't know how useful it is. But given that Step of the Wind only costs like one point, and now it disengages and it gives you dash, so you can just run right on through everything with your, at this point, probably 120 feet of movement and just vroom, 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 just hit enemies like, because this also isn't the duration. Any creature of your choice takes damage equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you enter a space within 5 feet of it. And it's not the first time. They may have to they may have to change this a little bit. I am tired, so I'm going to use a calculator for this. So you have, let's say you are a, like at this point you're a 17th level monk. Because this could be silly. So you're a 17th level monk. Your unarmed movement is plus 25. So let's assume you started with 30 feet of movement. So then we add another 20 to that from using Step of the Wind this turn. We times that by 2. And then we divide that by 5 because you're moving 5 feet at a time. They need to change the wording on this. Because I think this would kill anything, potentially. Any creature of your choice takes damage equal to one roll of your... Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Selican. If I run 150 feet, 5 feet at a time. Now, the exception would be if it was like you would cut this in half instantly if it was a case of they for the first time, which I think would nerf it too much. If they go for the first time, then they have to make it 2 hit die, or 2 of the martial arts die, which is already then sweet. Like, you could do so much. Like, if you're running through and there's like 5 enemies and you get to hit them each with 2 at this point, I think like a D10 or D12, like that's a crazy amount of damage. But you would be rolling 30 D how many? At 17th, you're dealing D12s, which means your average is 7. So you'll be doing an average damage of although the average isn't exactly 7. I'm sure somebody's going to point that out to me, because this is D&D and people like their math, which I get. You have to be aware of that. You could be doing, on a average set of rolls, 210 damage using a single oh no, you could do more than that. Step of the Wind is a bonus action. Step of the Wind is a bonus action. So you have your initial 30 plus 25 plus your 20 feet of movement. So you'd actually do that times 3. Oh, is there one? Oh, okay. Okay. Fine. It's not broken. Like I said, it's if it was a that's what I assume. If that's the case, I like my broken thing better, because then somebody would do that once and then they would have to add this rule, which I'm sure is exactly why this is here. That's too bad, though. That's too bad to an extent. Like I said, it would be broken without it. That's why I was like, this is... I thought they playtested this. Thank you for telling me to read. I've just harped so many times throughout looking through this document of like, oh, I should read the next line of text. You should read the whole spell, not just the first half. And you should only take this damage once per turn. Yeah. Okay. That solves that. They also get powered strikes. All right. Now that I'm not quite embarrassed by that. I just think it's funny. I still do love why they like. I can almost guarantee you somebody who's like, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that, and they can get all that. And then somebody did the math that I just did and was like, no, we got to add this at the end. In Power Strike, once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage to a target equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you hit it with an unarmed strike. The damage is the same type you chose for the feature. So yeah, you just get an extra. And it's once on each of your turns. Okay. I can understand this on the monk, actually. Switching pages to my actual commentary as opposed to me completely misreading something. I can understand this on the monk. It's kind of disappointing that it's only once per turn, because it would, again, be broken if it wasn't. But yeah, the once per turn thing, because this keeps popping up on well, what were they called? Druid and Cleric, where they can add a extra D8, I think it was. So this getting an extra D12 is, not insignificant, but yeah, I don't know. I guess because it's just a thing that happens every time. Just seems a little weak for 17th level to have, like, as funny as my broken interpretation of this was. Now this seems weak in comparison. Like, if you're dealing with like 20 enemies, this could be ridiculous. But if you're dealing with one, this becomes pointless. Um, Now it is okay. So it's Step of the Wind. So you could still be attacking in between these. So it is bonus damage. So removing the broken potential and having this as bonus damage isn't too big of a worry. And you're getting damage resistance, and you're getting the extra one. Okay. When you add them all together, this is actually pretty rad. Individual pieces, I'm like, okay, yeah, you get a damage resistance, and you get to change it. That's pretty cool. All right. Okay, destructive stride. This is, at first I thought, completely busted, and now it's like, oh, well, okay, you're not doing too much, but you could if there's a lot of enemies. Empowered strike, it's only once per oh, wait. You're getting all three of these at once. It's not one the other, right? It's all of them. So this actually, I think they fixed it. I think Warrior of Elements actually has playability, which is sweet because, yeah, as I was reading it, as I was misreading some of the previous stuff, thinking stuff wasn't as good as it could have been, I thought it was like, they're not off to a good start, especially, hey, here's this cantrip that just, we're going to like combine three cantrips together, but then limit it in a certain way to make sure that it's not like the only cantrip anybody should ever take either for this type of situations. Okay, bye. All right, Warrior of the Hand. So, yeah, Way of the Open Hand. I think this was like the class to take or subclass to take back in the day. Oh, you're heading to bed. Thanks for joining. You now know more about, this playtest than you ever have. All right. All right. Warrior of the Hand. So this is the replacement for Way of the Open Hand, which is fine. They probably didn't change too much because, again, this is from the 2014 handbook, and it was already one of the better options. So I'm willing to guess it's going to be mild changes. Let's find out. Now require a saving throw for all three effects, not just two of them. Okay, wholeness of body. Now requires a bonus action instead of an action. It can be used more than once per long rest, and is healing is tied to your martial die. Okay, so they made a lot of changes. Okay. Fleet Step, an 11th level feature. Oh, it's a new one that replaces Tranquility, one of the lowest rated monk features. Okay, so this is completely new. Quivering Palm is no longer able to deal an uncapped amount of damage, reducing a creature with any hit points to 0 was too powerful for the number of discipline points. Okay. Cool. Let's hope this isn't nerfed too much and that this stuff is made better to compensate for it. Let's find out. Open hand technique. Whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by Flurry of Blows, you can impose one of the following effects. The con save, can't take reactions. Push, target must succeed on a strength or be pushed up to 15 feet away. Must succeed on dex, or it has the prone condition. Interesting. All right, so only minor change here is that one of these just wasn't like the other, and they made it take a saving throw. But I can see, because Flurry of Blows, I always want to call it Fury of Blows for some reason. I wonder why. It's almost felt the same. It's used so frequently, and then just this stuff can happen. Can impose one of, and you can impose potentially two of these if you hit both times. So, yeah, okay. They changed this so they all have a saving throw involved. I'm assuming, probably the first one wasn't a saving throw, but I don't know. So either way, cool. Wholeness of body, did that change? Oh, bonus action, you can spend a discipline and regain number of hit points equal to the number rolled. Plus wisdom. Use this feature number of times equal to your wisdom modifier per day. Okay, yeah, cool. It is a bonus action. Healing is an action I have mixed feelings about versus a bonus action. Potions, for example. Potions suck. Nobody likes sucking a potion back on their turn and then taking the exact same amount of damage that they just healed for. When it's like, okay, I should have just attacked. This didn't, like, the only good thing that happened here was now my allies can attack this turn instead. Like, but we just wasted a whole bunch of gold on a potion. Yeah, so it's making stuff more stuff a bonus action in terms of healing. Here for it. Fleet step. Use step of the wind option. Without spending discipline points. Holy crap. So as a bonus action, you can disengage and dash for free now. That's wild. I think that might be too much. I think that might be a bit much. Like, there's a reason that they put a cost associated with that one. I'll have to see what the feedback and stuff is. My head goes to, yeah, that's a bit much. So, but I guess we'll see. Then Quivering Palm, you gain the ability to do these. So you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. Use this action. The target must make a con saving throw, taking 10d10 plus your monk level of force damage on a failed save or half success on a successful one. You can have only one creature under the effect of this feature at a time. You can end the vibrations harmlessly without using an action. Wait, what? They last a number of days. I can't tell if a whole bunch of this is just flavor text for, like, hey, you get to deal a crap ton of damage. So, okay. So you hit them with an unarmed strike, and they gain the quivering palm condition, and then you as an action so if you have hit them, you can then use an action to deal a crap ton of damage. I don't actually, I don't get the flavor of it. Like it seems like you can do it more than once in a row, and it lasts for multiple days. So you can like hit something and they run away, and then like, okay, well tomorrow, they're just gonna die in their sleep. I think that's kind of what they're going for. I don't. Yeah, the vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. Okay, so you can only do it once. Okay, I understand now. So you can put this on someone if they run away. As long as they're on the same plane, you can focus and do a crap ton of damage. All right, I understand it now. I thought this was like every day they take 10d10 damage, and then so like they're starting weaker every time. I just wasn't getting it. Now I do. What was it before? Open hand. Oh, if it fails, reduce its hit points to 0. If it succeeds, so it was like an instant kill before. I see. Okay, so they changed it a bit so it can't like do quote unquote an infinite amount of damage. All right, that makes sense. I just don't know how I feel about this ability in general, but I guess when you're level 17 and up, like 10d12 might not be as outlandish as it initially sounds. And then they take half as much. You can only have one at a time. So you can do this more than once, but you can only have it on one. So like, yeah, like if somebody runs away and they have this effect on them, and you have to use your action to do it again. Yeah, removing the it instant kills was probably a good decision, but yeah, now that I understand it, it's less crazy to me. Okay, so my final thoughts on Monk. Liking what I'm seeing. They didn't do anything too crazy. They nerfed a couple things that needed it, and then they boosted a couple things that needed that. It's a pretty boring summary, but that is where we are at with that. Now, yeah. Okay, we're going to see if I can make it through one more of these. We're going to look at Paladin. Now, I have played a Paladin. It was my first class in 5th Ed. I really enjoyed it. So I'm hoping it isn't too drastically changed, but at the same time, hopefully they tweaked a couple things. Yeah. So lay on hands. Oh, they get spellcasting at level 1 now? That's a change. Paladin. Ugh. Come on, Google. I just want to do a Google search. Yeah, spellcasting used to be 2nd level. Interesting. I like that because level 1 paladin always felt weird. That like I can't cast anything. All right, go away. So I'm happy with that change. That without even seeing here are the changes we made. That makes me happy. Paladin Smite doesn't exist at level 1. You get that at level 2. Now that might be for the better because like you'd probably just always use your first level stuff to do smites. Like you would never cast a regular spell. Because it's pretty hefty, especially at that level, to be able to do like 2d8 damage at level 1 is drastic, shall we say. Fighting style, Paladin Smite. Oh, they get Weapon Mastery at level 1, good. Faithful Steed. Oh, right, yes. I have a suspicion this is basically find Steed or whatever it was in the original stuff that it's an overpowered spell if it is the same one. And they moved it to the divine spell list, and that was too much. You can't do that. Abjure Foes is just, if that's what I think it is, that used to be part of a subclass. Subclass feature is now 20th for is 20th for them. I always find that interesting when like some classes get a 20th level thing for the class versus the subclass. All right, let's see what they did. All right, Lay on Hands is now a bonus action. Thank you. Make more healing stuff bonus action so it feels less bad, especially as a paladin. There's nothing worse than like, I need to heal myself. All right, well, that's my turn. Because bonus actions, they just weren't as big. Spellcasting has 3 noteworthy changes. All right, so this is changes based on the last playtest versus what I know. I know the OG because I started before I think they even had other source material books to build a character out of. I think it was just Player's Handbook at the time. The paladin can change 1 prepared spell upon finishing a long rest. Interesting. So they can only change 1 spell per day. They don't get to change the whole set. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I'll see when I get there. Weapon Mastery, yes. Divine Smite's gone. It's called Paladin Smite. Don't know how I feel about this. I have to see what it actually is. Channel Divinity as a new rule has a new rule in the multi-class sidebar. Oh yeah, we've already seen that in Cleric. It just means it's just to make sure you know that they're separate from each other. Made the subclass progression match the 2014 Paladin for compatibility reasons, which I like and I don't like. Aura of Protection has returned to 6th level, and the aura is inactive if you are incapacitated. Yeah, it's fine. Abjure now does nothing on a successful save. Okay. Aura of Courage is returned to 10th. Yeah, because they returned everything. Radiant Strikes now works with melee weapon strikes and unarmed strikes. I have a suspicion this is improved Divine Smite, but renamed. Restoring Touch has moved to 14th level. I don't know what that is. Divine Conduit has been removed in favor of Aura Expansion, returning to 18th level. Okay. Everything else looks pretty much the same as what I'm used to seeing. Again, multi-classing stuff. Yes. And then the Channel Divinity. Hey, only 1 class. Like you can't use a Cleric's Channel Divinity to buff your Paladin or vice versa. I believe. All right. Paladin class, Lay on Hands. It's just a bonus action now. Yeah. My DM ended up ruling it at one point that I could bonus action it for myself, but it was an action to heal someone else. But either way, I like this as a bonus action because there was nothing worse than as a paladin not attacking on my turn. And yeah, so that's a great change. I stand behind it. Okay, now spell casting. So paladin has spell slots starting at first level, which is cool. I like that. To cast one of these spells, you must expend a spell slot of the spell's level or higher. You regain it on a long rest. Nothing changed there. Prepared spell. Okay, from divine spell list. Number of spells on your list increases as you gain paladin levels. Works the same way as everything else, I think. Wait. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I thought I saw something more. Paladin feature gives you a spell. It does not count towards the total. Okay. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace one spell from the list. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I didn't change my spells too often. I ended up sticking with what I had, and then would only be changing out 2 or 3 max. If I did change anything, usually it was just one of like, oh, today I don't need to summon my steed because I have one. If he dies today, well, then I just don't have a steed for the day. So I don't know. I think this is a needless feature. I think it's just you can swap out your spells and it, I do like it doesn't require any meditation or anything like that. Like you just can. So I'm kind of okay with it. Charisma, spellcasting focus, weapon mastery. I like that you just get it, and they kept it really cool, but it's much more fighter orientated. They get it 100%. So Paladin Smite. Now this is where I might lose my mind. All right. Okay. Okay. I should be reading it out loud for those who are more podcasting this than watching. So basically, what I'm seeing here is instead of having the regular divine smite that is the one smite to rule all smites, you now have a whole bunch of smites that are paladin specific spells that you get, and that includes divine smite, which I'm guessing does extra damage to undead or something like that. Thunderous smite, shining smite. I'm hoping none of these are concentration. It's just you can only have one smite going at a time or some like disclaimer like that, because concentration always kind of sucked on these. Cast one of your prepared spells from this feature without expending a spell slot. Okay, so you can do one of these for free a day, so that's nice. You always have certain spells ready. When you reach a paladin level specific to the smites table, you thereafter always have. Okay, this is sounding to me to be an okay compromise of not only can you do any of these smites once a day for free, right? You get to pick whichever one for that time. You have all of them prepared. So I want to know. Bonus action, which you take immediately after hitting the target with a melee weapon strike. Okay. Whew. Close call. Target takes an extra 2d8 radiant damage from the attack. The damage is increased by 1d8 if it is a fiend or undead. When you cast this spell using a spell slot of second level or higher, the damage increases by 1d8 for each slot level above first. Okay. This does two things that I'm okay with both. Now, one is a nerf. One is very much not. So the nerf here. You can no longer cast Branding Smite, attack, and then add a Divine Smite to that hit. I'm okay with that, actually. For the counter of now you've landed your attack, and you can add a smite. And you get to pick from the smite spell list for whichever smite you want to add based on the spell levels you have available. Because this is, as far as I can tell, this is exactly the same. Now, the only other thing, two things, actually. One, it takes a bonus action. It's unfortunate, but I see why. Well, actually, the other one doesn't matter because it takes a bonus action. I was going to say, oh, but then you can't cast a spell on your turn, but you wouldn't. You wouldn't cast a spell on your turn. You're using your action to attack to land the smite. It does mean you can only smite once per turn. Which again, I kind of get, because like smiting twice in a turn, it was great, but it kind of was a little nuts sometimes. That is the only downside, is you can only smite once per turn. It takes your bonus action to do, and you can only do it once per turn. That's the only thing I don't like, is that, because before you could smite more than once per turn. But overall, this adjustment of like, hey, we're going to give you this smite spell list that has all of these different smites on it. Because I'll be honest, I had Branding Smite on my spell list available. I don't think I ever cast it. Right? I landed that attack. Oh, it was in that 20. Oh, I better use Divine Smite. It does the most damage. Oh, I landed an attack. I'm going to Blinding Smite because I know that they're going to... Right? It gives you these... It gives you more options while pulling back the damage output a little bit. Like, it does severely limit the damage output of the Paladin. Because it was the case that you could smite twice, potentially 3 times a turn if you were hasted. And that could get really silly, right? You'd have a Vengeance Paladin use your bonus action to Vow of Enmity. You're getting advantage on all your attacks. You smite on all of them. You crit on the second one, so that's the one you use your highest level spell slot for. And you just deal so much damage. You can still crit hunt with these though, which is nice because you get to pick when you add them. So that is still there. So I could see why they're doing this, and it was very rare that I would smite twice per turn, so I'm not heartbroken that they made that change, but it is a little unfortunate but I understand it. It does also mean that a smite can be counterspelled. So there's that. Fighting style, dueling all day, in my opinion. But yeah, like great weapon fighting, defense, protection, all the classics. I do notice that they don't have some of the additional ones from some of the later books on there. I wonder if that's just the, like, I think blind fighting was in one of them. I wonder if that's just to keep the for the playtest, or if there's going to get added back in, or if those are like fighter specific or something, because I don't remember. Channel Divinity. Oh, this is actually a big change. So Divine Sense is now part of Channel Divinity. It's not just you have X amount of Divine Senses you can do per day. Do per day. Other paladin features give additional effects. You can use it twice. You regain one expended use on a short rest, and you regain all on a long. Get additional uses when you get certain paladin levels, which that's a difference. I believe before, you could only do it once, but you had, I think it depended on the subclass actually. Because you could channel here we go. Channel divinity allows you to do things. Choose. Yeah. So before you only had one, and you would get it on a short or long rest. So now it's twice on a short or long. Like it's twice, but you get one back on a short rest, all back on a long, and that means I might not have seen it on the table. You get more. I was hoping this number would go up more though. It's like, yeah, you get 2, and then yeah, eventually you get 3, and then that's it. But maybe it's just too powerful to have it more than that. And the fact that you could potentially be using it like 4 times a day under the switch, but before you might be using it twice, maybe 3 at most. Yeah, it is interesting that Divine Sense is in there. Now I hope that they made Divine Sense better, because Divine Sense was kind of half pointless. The next 10 minutes or until you have the incapacity, which within 60 feet of you. Yes, they did buff it a bit. It used to say there was a ton of limitations to it. Divine Sense used to be horrendous. Where is it here? Yeah, Divine Sense. Once. So until the end of your next turn, you know the location of. It would last 1 round. Well, technically 2. Well, more 1 because it was an action. I never used this thing in combat. I didn't know that was its point. You could use it number equal to 1 plus your charisma modifier. But because it was designed to be used in combat before, them being undercover meant that you wouldn't see them. So like I just never used the damn thing outside of, are there any ghosts in this room, basically, or is this person a fiend or like that, like a celestial? Like I would use it occasionally for that, and it would kind of work. But like I had a case if I used it and somebody was like behind a tent. It's like, well, technically you can't see them, so like it's considered the cover mechanic. Like I think it was technically like X amount of wood or something like that. There was like a it was always I would, and if it was like, oh, you can do your channel divinity or you can do this, I would never use it if it was a channel divinity. So this is much better, but I really doubt I would ever use it once I got my subclass. Just putting that out there. Subclass happens. Oath of Glory, Oath of Ancients, Devotion, Vengeance. I wish they had Redemption out the gate, because I think Oath of Redemption was like really popular for RP reasons. Of like, yeah, this is a paladin who did something horrible and then became a paladin. But these are some of the classics. I did Vengeance. I'm looking forward to seeing how it is now. Faithful Steed. You have the Fine Steed spell prepared, which I don't believe was available. Is now. I believe Fine Steed is only available to paladins now, because it just was too much to give it to everybody who could get into divine spells. You can also cast a spell once without expending a spell slot. Regain this ability to... Yeah. This is nice. Okay. Like I said, one of the few times I would actually swap out my spells is as if I had to get Find Steed ready for the day. So, being able to cast it once per day without spending a spell slot and always having it prepared, I'm all for this. Especially because it's just on the same level that you would get other stuff. So it's not a negative in any way. Aura Protection, I believe it's exactly the same as it was. Just gives everybody a saving throw boost based on Charisma. Subclass feature, ability score improvement. Abjure Foes. Magic action. You can expend one use of your Channel Divinity to overwhelm foes with Divine Awe. As you bring that holy symbol or weapon. Oh, interesting. You don't have to pull the holy symbol out. You can just show them your weapon. That's a fun, an important note. Because you can do this then without putting your weapon down if your DM is very strict about spellcasting focuses and stuff like that. Minimum one creature. You can target creature equal to your charisma. Okay, so you can hit more than one. They're dazed and frightened for 1 minute. So, as the Oath of Vengeance Paladin, I used this once in an RP situation that, like, broke somebody. Because they were frightened for 1 minute and just could not move. And it was like, I'm going to use this to end this hostile situation. And it was great, but it was, like, tense. I never once used it in combat because I had way better stuff. Now, the original one was Abjure Enemy, and it was a single enemy. So being able to do this with one use of Channel Divinity, which now you have multiple uses in a day, and it affecting more than one creature, I'm here for it. That's good. Aura of Courage is exactly as it always was. It's awesome. Radiant Strikes. This is replacing Improved Divine Smite. You hit a target with an attack roll. Yeah, and it is Improved Divine Smite. This is just renamed. And what I was worried about didn't happen. It isn't once per turn. It's just when you hit. So that's sweet. Okay, because that was like, I got that and was like, oh, this is my new favorite thing. Ability score improvement. Restoring touch. Lay on hands. Creature, you can also remove one of the following. You must expend 5 points from the pool for each condition removed. Paralyzed on there. That's good. And, this is actually way better than it ever was. Used to be able to remove poison condition, yeah. The big reason this is awesome now is it's a bonus action. You have this pool, you just have to keep track of it, and you can, as a bonus action, get rid of some of this stuff. Subclass feature, ability score improvement, aura expansion. Yeah, okay. All right, Paladin subclasses, oaths, and they have the whole thing on breaking the oaths and like how they have like a problem if you do, and it's DM discretion, etc. Right, Oath of Devotion. Oath spells relit. Now I haven't seen the playtest version, as I've stated in some of my other videos, so I don't know. Maybe this is gonna be smaller changes or bigger changes. Oath spells have been revised. Smite spells. Oh, because yeah, they probably had smites in there, and then they revamped smite in a way that I'm okay with. I'm not. I take the good and the bad. I think it makes smites a bit more interesting. Is why I kind of like it, even if is technically debuffing it a bit. Smite of protection is removed. In addition, it now works with or has moved to 50. So, our subclass is going to be getting their own smite spells because that could be cool. Holy Nimbus, saving throws against the effects of fiends and undead. All right, let's find out what that is. So, spells. I don't really go over these a lot. It is interesting on paladins, similar to some of the others, where like a lot of them are pulled from like straight up other spell stuff. But sacred weapon, blue. I think this is pretty much what it was before. You can add your charisma modifier. You can choose it to be radiant. Also, you can choose to add, or wait, you add, yeah. So you it's channel divinity. Okay, yeah, and then you add your charisma. So you're adding both your strength or dexterity in certain cases, unless they've changed how that works, which could be given some other stuff I've seen. But amidst bright light and stuff. So yeah, you can end it as a bonus action, or it ends if you become incapacitated. So if you've got bonus of strength of 3 and you have a charisma of 2, now you're adding 5. Yeah, that's a cool thing. Or of devotion, immune to charm. Condition ends if they has no effect while they're in it. So the charm spell doesn't end; they're just not affected by it while they're in. And then I think they can still try to break free of it at the end of their turn, as per usual. Smite of protection. Your magical smites now radiate protective energy. When you cast any of your paladin smite spells, you and your allies in your aura of protection have half cover until the start of your next turn. So this is really cool now because, well, I mean, it was probably fine before, but because there's all those different smites, it's not when you use divine smites, when you use one of your smite spells. So if they're doing stuff like this, I can even understand this more, because now you have those extra options and there's subclass features that are affected by it. So if that's the case, I'm actually even more for it. Now, Holy Nimbus, you can imbue your aura of protection with holy power, granting the benefits for 1 minute. Granting the following benefits for 1 minute or until you end them as a bonus action. Advantage on saving throws against fiend or undead. Cool. Radiant damage whenever enemy starts its turn. The creature takes radiant damage equal to your proficiency bonus plus charisma modifier, and they just take it. There's no save. That's sweet. Sunlight. This is really important for. It's not just bright light. There are some creatures who take damage from sunlight. But also, if you're fighting drow, well, now, have fun. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until a long rest. You can also restore your use with a 5th level spell slot. Then they've got the tenants. I don't feel like reading through all of them. They're important for playing the class, but not for our purposes today. Oath of Glory. They have their own smite. Cool. Fearless Athlete. Don't know it. Or I didn't need to read all of them. All right. So they get some stuff. Although, again, Guiding Bolt is... it wasn't originally on the Paladin spell list, but now it kind of is because it's the Divine spell list. So some of these don't matter as much. It is nice to have haste. Oh, having haste as a paladin, being able to cast it on yourself, so nice. I do miss it. Yes. Inspiring Smite at 3rd level. Immediately after you deal damage to a creature with your smite spells, you can expend one of your channel divinity and distribute temporary hit points to creatures of your choice within 30 feet of you, which can include you. Total number of temporary hit points equals 2d8 plus your paladin level, divided amongst them as you see fit. Cool. Again, triggered by a smite, and then you can use your channel divinity to like stack on top of it. If they do more things of like this triggers when you hit a smite, I'm actually more and more liking the versatility of everything. As a bonus action, you can spend one use of your channel divinity to augment your athleticism for 1 hour. You have advantage. Okay, so I'm going to use this for outside of combat stuff. That's cool. I'm plowing through this stuff because I've been on this for a while. Aura of Alacrity. Speed increases by 10 feet, and the speed of any ally who starts their turn in the aura of protection increases by 10 feet until the end of the turn. This is important because it's not like it ends when you leave. It's like, no, you started your turn in the aura, you get extra movement. Glorious Defense. You can turn defense into a sudden strike. When you or a creature you can see within 10 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant a bonus to the target's AC against that attack, potentially causing a miss. Bonus equal to Charisma modifier. If the attack misses, you can make one weapon attack against the attacker at the time of the reaction, provided the attacker is within range of your weapon, or within your weapon's range. You can use this feature number of times equal to your Charisma modifier. This is actually pretty sweet. I like that. Yeah, because the paladins don't need like a ton of stuff like this, just because we already have, like, similar to a lot of the casters, right? Like, we already have a bunch of spells and stuff to let us choose what to do during our turn. But the more stuff we can do that doesn't use our like, I didn't have very many reactions other than attack of opportunity. So stuff like this is pretty rad because it's not taking away anything else. Like, you're not really losing anything, right? And you get the attack too. So if you're worried like, oh, I might lose out on attack of opportunity, well, if you save your ally from getting hit, you also get to make an attack. So it's like win-win. Oh, level 20 capstone. Living legend. You can empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, of your great deeds. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 1 minute. Advantage on charisma checks. You can re-roll a saving throw using your reaction. Once on a turn, on each of your turns, when you make an attack roll with a weapon and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead. That's just funny. It's not like you can re-roll the die. It's like, no. Nah, it hits. Once you have used this feature, you can't use it again until I finish a long rest or use a 5th level spell. I'm liking some of that. Now, Tenants of Glory. Now, Ancients, this is sort of the nature-based one. One of my players has been using one of these, and it's actually a really cool, weird class, or subclass. Like, and some of the auras on it are ridiculous. Nature's Wrath can now restrain multiple creatures. Turn the Faithless has been replaced by Abjure foes in the base class. Cool. Aura of Warding, known as Aura Protection, provides resistance to Necrotic and Radiant. That is probably a good thing. The original Aura was ridiculous. Undying Sentinel, Elder Champion. I think the original Aura was spell damage. It's there. Yeah, so lots of like Moonbeam, right? Plant growth. Like it very much was like, yeah, we're gonna pull a bunch of stuff from the Druid spell list. Nature's Wrath. Each creature of your choice that you can see within 15 feet of you must succeed on a strength saving throw or have the restrained condition for 1 minute. It can try to unrestrain itself at the end of its turn. Always important to say end of its turn. Aura of Warding. Necrotic psychic, and radiant. Um, yeah, that's I believe a downgrade from before, but an important change. Just resistance to like I said, I think it, unless my flare has been saying it wrong, which it could be. I've read it. I've read what they sent me. Yeah, resistance to damage from spells. So it's not element, like this particular element. It's not this particular damage type. It's like, was this a spell? Half damage. Oh, oh well, this is a spell like ability. Yeah, like it. This is a little more straightforward, and I kind of like it. Undying Sentinel. When you reduce to 0 hit points, you're not killed outright. You can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead and regain number of hit points equal to 3 times your power paladin level. Additionally, you suffer none of the drawbacks of old age and can't be aged magically. Cool. Makes you into a half orc. Elder Champion. Bonus action, you can imbue your aura of protection with primal power, granting the following benefits for 1 minute or until the end of them as a bonus action. Enemies aura have disadvantage on saving throws against your spells and channel divinity options. Cool. Regenerate. And yeah, you get all 3 of these, right? Yeah. Generation. Ooh, that's nice. All right, so spells. Whenever you cast a spell that has that one action, you can cast it using a bonus action. That's also really cool. Everything about this is awesome. It should be its 20th level. If I ever read a 20th level and I'm like, then it's the worst. And then their tenants, cool. Vengeance. Now this is what I know. Updates. Has compelled duel instead of Hunter's Mark. That's too bad. Hunter's Mark was... Once I figured out how good Hunter's Mark was, it was very frequently used. Vow of Enmity now lets you move your vow to another creature. Creature's reduced to 0 hit points before the duration ends. That's sweet. After your enemy is gone, I'm fine with that. Relentless Avenger can now reduce the target speed to 0. Cool. Avenging Angel is now a bonus action instead of action. Never made it that far. The character is largely about to be retired because Selican J, who was just in the chat earlier, he's my DM, or one of my DMs, and he like we finished our last arc, as it were, and was like, hey, you guys want to play some new characters? And I said, yeah, kind of. I just want to try some more stuff. So might return to the character eventually, but in the meantime, I've got a bard in mind once he tells me what level we are. All right, so oath spells, they changed a bit of them. The rest of them all look the same. I always forgot I had protection from energy. It's such a good spell that I just never used. Compel Duel is fine. Hunter's Mark is way better, but I think it was a bit much. And especially now it is moved to like the not druid spell list, but the primal one. It kind of makes sense to pull it from this. Vow of Enmity is the same as it was. It basically gives you advantage on your attacks for 1 minute. And now if you kill the creature, you can move it to another creature. Okay. Yes, I lost Hunter's Mark, but this is better anyway. Vow of Enmity kind of sucked if you only had you could only put it on one creature and there was like 5 like small creatures. It's like, this is almost pointless to use. Relentless Avenger, opportunity attack. You reduce their speed to 0, and then you can move. That's actually sweet. wonder if they're getting rid of Sentinel. Because it's basically like, because I took Sentinel, I wouldn't have. If I had this, I would have probably done an ability score increase. Soul of Vengeance. Immediately after a creature under the effect of your vow of enmity hits or... Okay, sweet. Attack. You can use your reaction to make a melee attack against the creature if it's in range. That's sweet. That's really cool. Avenging Angel is a bonus action. So this is all the same. I never got this far on it, but it's sweet. It's just a lot of cool stuff. But we're mostly looking at the changes. And the most of the changes seem to be on the main. No, they've changed the subclasses around a bit too. But again, it's not as drastic. Like, it is and it isn't. So the biggest change is the smites. Moving the smites to a spell list, it is both a nerf and a versatility increase. So it might end up being a buff in the end. Like, you're not going to deal as much damage necessarily because you can't, get haste cast on you and then smite 3 times in one turn. You can only smite once per turn because it is a spell. But you can pick between the 3 or no, you can pick between the 8 smites here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so rather than I'm going to cast this, it has concentration. I hope this works because once I got haste, because I had haste as a spell as well as a other allies had haste. Once I had haste, I would often cast it on myself because it's concentration. I would never use any of these, so I like it. It's just a different feel. I think it is actually a good choice because it's like, oh, I hit. I feel like doing a staggering smite. It gives you that. It almost feels like on fighters where they have the I use my superiority die to do this thing versus just, I add an extra d8 because I feel like it. It's like, okay, I add. And Divine Smite still rules. It's still probably the most damaging of any of these, but yeah, because I'm planning on doing a Blinding Smite, and then you hit them and it's like, oh, that was a crit. They're undead. Ooh, I should probably put Divine Smite on that. And because it's the spell level, and you can upcast Divine Smite, there's also that. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy with the Paladin revamp. They did one drastic change and then a bunch of small tweaks, and I'm actually fine with it. It is a bit different. It took me a bit to get on board. But yeah. It looks pretty good. Now, I see Ranger. Now, is Ranger the end? No, there's also Rogue. And I don't have that many of these in me. Thanks for the couple of people who came in and hung out. Because, yeah, they said this is a fairly new endeavor. But it has been fun.